No, this is perfect. We're going to win. This is our winning trophy song. And it's all about stats. That's what Walter football is about, data and stats. So perfect. Open, Nankit.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening from India. And welcome to the show, IBM TV, presenting you stories on COVID-19 across the globe. And we have Kim from Raleigh, USA, and she'll be sharing the stories from USA and around the world. So let's get started. So, do we have any guests today from US?
I'm trying, it's Saturday here. In some countries it's a different day, as we learn. But not that I don't know these things, but you just tend to forget when you work globally, that sometimes you feel like that you're all in one bubble together. And like Ankit, it's in the evening, me, it's in the morning. Willie, I think it's tomorrow. So it's, we have to kind of figure out who's doing what. Our Saturdays, people tend to shut down. They don't like to work. I will share this, that in the United States, I'm just going to say the majority of the people shut down at 5 o'clock yesterday for the essential versus the non-essential businesses, which has been a big dispute. Who's essential and who's not. But you learn real quick how valuable you are to your government community when they made this list. And it's like I told my sister, that hairdresser thing, as soon as Trump needs his hairdresser, the hairdresser is going to be essential, right? Yeah. This is not about how important your job is to the community, because I think every job is, because it cycles the currency, right? And also keep in mind, hairdressers, you are very important. You're like the biggest therapist in the world while you get your hair done, because I always say, if you want to know the truth about someone, go knock on their hairdresser door. So,
True. So that's what happened in India as well.
Really? So you were in permanent lockdown today?
So it was a permanent lockdown, and I went out after almost a week, and the roads were almost empty, and it was an experience on the road and while out from the family for a couple of hours, because it was a different time. I've never felt such emotion earlier, that I have to be strong, and I have to take care of the things, and I have to be very precautious while doing anything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I realized that I touched my face a lot of times in an hour, and it's about a lot of hours I have to spend in the hospital, and everyone at hospital was also scared. They're just trying to do their duties and just go out. That is what I realized. But the important point I want to mention is that I still believe that there are some gaps. What's happening is that we are not getting. Hi Shambhu, namaste. How are you?
Namaste.
I've invited Shambhu the other day as well, and on IBM TV. And finally, after a year, he's live available with us.
You're everywhere, Shambhu. When I see you, where are you today?
I am here at my home. It's a lockdown time,
Well, welcome home. Does it feel? I mean, it's a weird feeling because you travel so much and you go to so many things. It's like a ghost town now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Due to my travel and due to mid-scheduling, so I couldn't attend our conference since long. Today, personally, I could do. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, welcome home. I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're healthy. As much as you travel, it's a good thing that you're very, very healthy. Share with us some of the things that you are noticing business-wise, how this is impacting global business.
Yes, of course. It's a huge impact globally. And of course, I was telling in my another conferences as well, the epicenter is somewhere and the big impact and big burst is somewhere. So it's a different scenario now, So generally, what happens? Wherever the epicenter is, the most of the effect or impact is there. But this time, USA and Italy has overtaken the number of deaths, and USA has taken the infected number of people. So I think it's quite amazing and unusual, I believe.
Well, it seems like a good portion of our board on this morning, which is nice to be able to see everyone's smiling faces. And I can only happily assume that all of you guys are healthy. A lot of us kind of self-contained several weeks ago. I shut down after the school across the street had said that they had been infected. That was about 4 weeks ago. I had learned at that time it was still a myth, but they were sharing with us that it was airborne. So I kind of said, well, you know what? I'm going to just be safe in case I might have caught it. And because I don't go to the school, but it's across the street, and I'm just going to self-contain and hopefully we'll be past this soon. Namaste, Sasha. Namaste, Willie. Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning. Good morning.
So, Sasha yesterday shared with us. We get letters. Sasha gets more than anyone, I think. Everybody loves Sasha. Such a warm letter from a woman who is in Italy and is witnessing to the world what is happening. I think this is the reason why I wanted to post that as letter number 1. We're going to be reading letters throughout this now, because I think the testimony of real people in these situations is going to be very important for us, because I don't think we always hear the truth from paid for media sources, and which we're not a paid for media source. And, from government, I think sometimes they put a lid on things for a while. Nothing against them, but, I just think they do. So Sasha has been, sharing letters with us, and we picked letter number 1 yesterday because what she said in the beginning was very important. She was sending a letter to the world. This is what's happening to us. And I hope you heed this warning, that if your life seems normal today, like ours did, in 2 weeks earlier, in 2 weeks, if you don't heed this warning in 2 weeks, your life's going to be like ours. And then she further explained how if people are carried away in the truck with COVID-19, you will probably never see them again, because they don't have the resources to cure the people, to help them recover. So they're trying to contain, but the doctors, as she had wrote to us, she used the words dropping off like flies, which I thought was a very humanistic, normal way to share a view with people. This is how drastic it is. This is how real it is. But in other countries like India, we've witnessed you guys locked down really hard. You have some good core values. Other countries, we're doing the same. Australia, you guys did a very serious lockdown. Canada closed their airports early in the game. So let's just share what's going on in our world. And okay, Sasha.
Okay, there is a great innovation here in Canada, in Toronto particularly. Great news is that all licensed restaurants are allowed to bring to people's homes not only the food, but also alcoholic drinks. Yes, that's a great news. So provided that people order food and drinks, not only drinks, but food and drinks, it's allowed. They can deliver themselves or through the third parties. So this is a great news for the people of Canada and Toronto in particular. I don't know how that's been done in other countries, but this is
alcoholic drinks. I love it. The first time alcohol has been allowed to be delivered to the doors.
Yeah. Thinking what I'm going to order.
I read a question to one of the health organizations Why is the ABC store still listed as an essential? They're not closing the alcohol store. And I want you to take over at this point and ask the 4 questions.
Yeah. So I was sharing the story of what happened today and how I felt because it was a different emotion. And I was out after a week, and I went to hospital for my father's dialysis, and the situation was very different from the other days, and everyone is scared. But people who are in the medical industry, they tend to have to, work the way they can, but they're also very scared, and because they have to go back to home after that, and that is what the problem is, because they don't want their family to suffer from such a crisis or such a situation where the virus can infect because of the day-to-day, what we can, through contamination from different ways. Because we are still not sure how it happened in different countries, because they say that it's happened through metals, through plastics, through clothes, or maybe through different items. So what I realized that the important part is we are still not sure if you have some symptoms, or if you think that you are prone for these viruses, what do you have to do? Because I met a lot of people or a lot of patients who have symptoms, or someone from their family have some symptoms, and they just come to the hospital and talking to everyone openly, because what happened with the hospital at the gate, they are checking the temperatures and they are taking all the precautions, but symptoms happens generally later on as well. So at that time when they check with the temperature gun, the person is normal, but they might be having some symptoms which are not seen, because that's what happening with corona. So what happened is that those people whose family members might be having some symptoms, or they are feeling that they have COVID-19. So the family members are visiting the hospitals and they're talking to everyone else. And that was the scary part, because people are still not sure how they have to go and proceed with the circumstances in this scenario. And that's what hospitals are not taking the right action. According to me, that is what we are saying on our IBM channel as well, that you have to call to the doctor, and then you have to take the right precautions, because you can't just generally come to any hospital or any clinic and discuss that what happened and what should I do, what should I not do. Because if someone from your family is suffering from COVID-19, that means you might also be having those symptoms. So to avoid spreading the symptoms in the community, in the neighborhood, in the hospitals with doctors, we have to call to the doctor. You can't just come and visit the hospital and then asking about how should we do, how the test will happen and all those things, because everyone is available on the call. That's why we say stay at home, do the phone. Stay at home, make a call. That is what the idea behind our story, that you have to call before you visit any of the clinic. And it was a complete ghost town in Delhi, because I generally never saw such kind of Delhi, where we have zero pollution. The current pollution today was 47, which was unbelievable, because in past 5-10 years I have never seen such a good weather. So it was it. So there are a lot of positives as well, but I had a very long day, and I am little tired because of the mental. Situations dealing with all those doctors and talking to all those patients. So that is what I have to discuss today. And Shambhu, can you discuss what happened, what's going in Nepal, and how you are cooperating with the government, and what are the
Okay, Ankit, thank you very much. Fortunately, in Nepal, till now, there are 5 cases has been seen, and not a single death, and the situation of the infected people is also not that bad. It's fortunate. And next thing is globally, sarcastically, I generally put a comment that it was COVID-19 while it was in China. Now
Yeah.
it is COVID-20, so it's spreading more speedily and this is rapidly. It's a newer version of when it came out from the China. It's a COVID-20, that's why. So it's spreading everywhere. And in Nepal, generally, what we think is if India is infected more, there is a chance of being contaminated with Nepal as well. And is fortunate that I'm just always refreshing that worldometer where how many countries are being infected. And as in India, it's below 1,000 means it's very good, I believe, because India and Bangladesh, certain city of India and Bangladesh, if coronavirus is entered, there is a chance of devastation, not only the number of cases, because there's a crowd and highly populated areas are there. So we are more aware, and government has already announced the lockdown, and not a single person can come out from the home. Some foods and other things, whatever they need, are being delivered in their door to door. And sometime, in case if they didn't get, they are allowed, but with maintaining distance. So government is well managing, but some cases we found is from Spain and from France and from Germany. So people traveling from there, they brought the coronavirus, and they are put into isolation, and it's almost in control. But the thing is, what time and when it comes and when it spreads, we cannot predict. The thing is that. And next thing is, from this perspective, as a global recession may come. I am the student of international relation and international politics as well. So I generally, what do I predict is third world war will be by a virus. Though we are looking there are nuclear weapons these nuclear weapons will not be fired, not be open. If some country try to fight or try to announce the third world war, it will be via virus. They will insert virus in some certain cities of the enemy countries, and they will start the world war. So it looks like, and it is a demo version of the third world war. So now it's spread automatically, but next time, I believe, as a political analyst as well, so the country who want to announce the third world war will spread virus like this, and will be killing number of people. So if you see the number, and if it couldn't be controlled, is even in USA laboratory, they are telling that it takes something 15 months to develop the medicine for this antivirus. If it is not cured in time, it will affect more than 5 trillion in the world economy. So it's a huge loss. As you know, total economy of the globe is around 75 to 80 trillion dollars. So it will be huge loss, and it will create a big recession to the world.
So, do you think that we are moving towards third world war, or what do you want to suggest? That is it a war between the people who have started and the people who are suffering? Everyone in the world is suffering.
Okay. Started, there was one picture that Chinese President Xi Jinping and American President Donald Trump were shaking hand to. It was a phone call, but I had seen in news that they are shaking hand to fight against COVID-19. But I sarcastically posted in my Facebook page that China has given up its first position to America. Now America has become the first. So, I cannot say this is the third world war, but it's the demo version of third world war. You can see and you can assume, if third world war comes, it will come in this way. Whichever country wants to announce the third world war, they will put this virus into some cities of some countries.
I'm sorry, Shambhu, but I don't agree, because I don't think so. This is the third world war. It might be a conspiracy which will try to solve it, but because if it's third world war, there should be two groups. But I don't see a second group right now.
The thing is, I'm not telling this is
if there is a third world war, it will be fought bio. I do believe that there is a lot in that, because there are laboratories who are actually developing and redeveloping this virus. I just read about it last night because I heard some people talking about some patents that were based on the coronavirus back, in 2003 to 2006. I think patent law said that they could have viruses listed as patents, but I think anything after 2006, which I have to go do some research, but it appears that anything after 2006, the patents were not allowed on natural. Listen to this. They were not allowed on nature-created viruses. So if you have a nature-created virus, they would not allow a patent. But they do on man-made.
Kim, are you talking about French patents in particular?
No, so there are several. And the patent database is huge. And it was one night, right? So I have very little time to read everything. And I used to do patent law. I used to research patents. So, and was studying patent law. So so this was curious to me, and I thought, well, I'm going to delve into it. Maybe we need to get a patent lawyer on to talk about this, because what you're talking about, and I agree, I think the Third World War will be more bio-based than just the atomic bombs and the missiles. I think that this might have been a test that went bad. There are so many what ifs, right? But what I did learn was shocking, is that they do allow patents on any virus, including COVID, if it is generated and manipulated as man. And there are companies like the French and some others who have been developing COVID-19, manipulating it in chickens. Their excuse, or their reason, is to create an antibody, a vaccine for chickens. So if chickens get the COVID-19, they can cure their livestock. But I think that's baloney. I mean, you don't go around creating a virus to save an animal. You go creating a virus to save humans. And so they have been manipulating the COVID virus, which we've heard that some people think that this is a manipulated one because the inner cell is weaker. And that's what they say in their patent research, that the inner cell is weaker. And they make it weaker and weaker so that they can find a vaccine to cure it. I mean, if any of you understand science better than I do, that's what I read last night. And I'm still reading. But it was enough for me to open up the book and go, what are they really doing in patenting these viruses? But they are allowed to patent man-generated viruses. So just go ahead. Sorry.
What I meant to say is that a few days ago, I've read about a French patent by the year 2003. And not only that, there was a collaboration between French patent holders and Chinese laboratories on a government level. However, I've dismissed it as a conspiracy theory, and I didn't think it's valid. But now, who knows what to say, where the truth is. Until proven, I still dismiss this theory by and large. What disturbs me, actually, when we were talking about the medical economy and political aspects of this problem, I was quite disturbed by a few developments. Number one, on all checks that will go to Americans in the near weeks, all checks will feature Mr. Trump's signature, implying that it was Mr. Trump who delivers goods to American people. But it's not true at all. What they are delivering to Americans their own money. They're borrowing money from future generations of Americans. The children and grandchildren of today's workers, politicians, doesn't matter whom, they will have to repay trillions and trillions of dollars. What has Mr. Trump to do to imply that it was him who made these arrangements and who is making all American people happy. Another development is on the medical side. There are now discussions on significant US TV networks about medical rationing. What that means? That means, for example, if you're talking about organ implants, right? There are a shortage of organs, and sometimes doctors have to make decisions. Who is going to get the organs to save the life? This man or that man? And there is a lot of ethics of medical professionals. Now, what's happening is that very often it's either coming or it's already came, especially in areas as New York, that they have to ration who will stay alive and who will die. And this is very ethical. It's not medical, it's ethical question. For example, if you have two patients, one is the 30 years old drug addict, and another one, 60 years old, say middle class person, physically fit, let's say. And there is only one ventilator which will save life, either one of those. So the medical profession, the doctors right there, have to make a decision who will get access to ventilator, the 30 years old guy or the 60 years old guy. And there will be so many cases, especially that the shortage of ventilators is documented, it's undeniable, and people in next probably 2 weeks' time will have to start making these decisions.
I'm going to interrupt here just for a second, because that's a good point. And I just spoke with someone last night where they had to make that decision for somebody. And I don't know how many of you know people who have COVID-19 right now, but I think that there's enough of us. Eventually, we're going to know someone who knows someone. And I was speaking with someone who has a very close friend in New York who has COVID-19, and the doctors are making that choice. And oddly, which was shocking to me, but you have to look at why people do things. They're making the choice who gets the ventilator and who doesn't. He did not, because he was under the age of 60. He was actually 38. And so it in America, from what I'm learning, I could be wrong, is that decision factor is anybody over 60 will immediately get the ventilator if they're short on ventilators. This is what I'm hearing, from people who have friends that are infected, and this is why they were not selected. Now, this is real stories to me, because these are real people who are sharing their real experiences. This is not a statistic data from media. But do any of you, can somebody raise their hand, know of anyone who has COVID-19?
I don't know someone directly, but I know, people have COVID-19 through some friends or maybe someone.
Yeah, friends of friends.
And a lot of people have symptoms and they are quarantined. And by the comment that you have to stay at home without coming out, not more than 14 days, basically. That is what we have. Dr. Rajat from Delhi, and he manages all in clinic. Dr. Rajat, welcome to the show and namaste. We have our guests across the world, and we are discussing about the COVID-19. So what's your take on the current situation globally?
See, the current situation globally is it's very bad. I was just looking through the numbers just before coming in, and it's almost crossed the 5 billion mark, and a lot of deaths are happening, but definitely people are becoming more aware, and social distancing is the key to avoid the spread. And once, if you are unfortunate to have the effect, then the best way would be to seek for a medical advice. Don't panic. Self-quarantine yourself and report. Please report. In India, we have been facing the problem that people are too scared to report their symptoms. And so I think it's wise enough to self-report the symptoms and quarantine yourself. So you must seek medical advice. But I think we would be able to control the whole situation probably in 2 weeks from now. Things would be more better under control, and definitely we are working on vaccines. So hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, we should have something coming in.
And sir, do you think as we Indians are on the right direction as compared to the other countries?
Pardon? Sorry?
Are we in India in the right direction towards fighting with the current situation, COVID-19, as compared to what other countries are doing? Because we have realized that there are three models of fighting with the current 19. The first is
Sorry, Ankit, I can't hear you.
I think he froze. Could you hear the first part of his question? I was having problems.
Yeah, I could hear that. Are we on the right track of limiting the disease? Sorry, Ankit, I can't hear you. Can you come again?
We'll come back. Sometimes we have technical difficulties, so maybe let's talk about this.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Sometimes
it's like going to Mars. I think he's wondering, are we on the right track for containment of this? Go ahead. Can we hear you, Ankit? Yep, he's resetting. So I think what he is asking is some of the questions that we continuously ask. Are we on the right track? Ankit, is that what you were wondering? Maybe you can text it.
You know, I feel we are on the right track as per the Indian scenarios. We have been quite aware about the whole situation developing in the whole world, and we were our Prime Minister and our government was quite quick in asking people to lock down, and which is a bold step in terms of the huge population we are catering in India. So we were pretty quite strict, though there is definitely underreporting of cases. To best of my knowledge, there are around 900 cases reported so far, which probably is underreported. There might be few more numbers, but still, I think that was a very bold step, and we did the best thing by social distancing, because we understand that if this spreads in India, it's going to be a huge disaster because of the infrastructure involved. So they might not be able to cater, and like rightly said, there will be huge shortage of ventilators coming in. So it's the best way is to stop the social contact. So social distancing is the best way. So hats off to the government of India. They are taking a very bold step, and we are all pro what they're doing.
The doctors are working nonstop. So thank you for all of the research that the doctors are doing. Go ahead, Ankit.
And Dr. Rajat, what are you, advising to your patients right now, and how they can take care, because it's difficult for them to meet you in this scenario. So how are you managing the situation?
So right now, the government, the medical government of India has issued advisory saying that telemedicine is allowed. So a patient who are in emergency, or I'm a pain specialist, so people who are dealing with severe pain or cancer pain patients can definitely consult me through telemedicine or through teleconferencing WhatsApp call. And otherwise, I am advising my patients, unless and until it is a dire emergency, please do not move out of the house, stay back and hold on. So similarly, in terms of interventions and surgeries I have stopped doing all elective surgeries because of the shortage of PPE, which could happen if I go ahead and keep doing surgeries. So all elective surgeries are on hold, and only emergency situations are being dealt with. So we are able to conquer the whole situation, and hopefully another 2 weeks, we should be better placed.
And sir, what kind of precautions you are taking personally? Because you might have been visiting hospitals on regular basis. So how are you? Maintaining these hygiene levels, and because you have to come back and there are kids in the family, and a lot of people are in the family. So how are you managing those situations?
See, the moment I enter the hospital, I change my scrubs into scrubs. I wear it down and I use the facial mask. I use the sanitizers, and the uh, hand washing is done very frequently. I avoid touching patients unless and until it is required. And once I come back home, I straight away go to the washroom, change my clothes, put them in washing, take a bath, and again sanitizing my hands. So this is the best I could, but understandably, I understand that I am at a risk of being a carrier or infected with coronavirus because I'm serving the whole population. So I'm mentally prepared just in case it happens.
So very, we are all very, applauding the way you are working in this scenario, because life is not easy for you as well, and you are different runners in the current situation. But I spoke to a lot of doctors, and they're also scared at this point of time. So, how you are managing your mental level, and how are you meditating on making the focus that you have to do the work by, because 90% of India is sitting at home, ideally might be doing some work, and everyone is looking after the doctors. So, because that's what, that how the Indian immunity works basically, because everyone treating doctors as a god right now. So how are you taking all these things, and how are you, creating more immunity and power to yourself so that you can do the right job?
See, our Prime Minister asked our population to come out on a Sunday, the 22nd, and applaud for all the people who are working for COVID-19 and putting their life at risk. And at 5 o'clock in the evening, everybody was out of in their balconies, clapping and applauding for our services and all other staff involved. So that was quite motivating and encouraging, and it really feels very proud to be a part of all this health services. But yes, at times it's distressing. You have your own family pressures, the society pressures. People keep calling you and asking you, you know, are you okay? Is everything okay? So definitely it adds on to the pressure, but you have to live with it because this is how you can't run away from situations. So if we sit back at home and don't work, then I don't know how people will handle this. So we have to show a brave front.
And sir, lastly, how are you? What kind of precautions or views you want to address to our viewers right now? What they should do and how they should take care of the health, and how they will stay at home and still fight with the coronavirus. Because I'm reading a lot of news and a lot of articles that staying at home also at a risk, because you are in touch with a lot of items which are coming from outside. So how people should carry and maintain the current hygiene level?
See, the thing is that you should encourage home cooked food. You should not encourage food from outside. You should not encourage shopping online right now because you don't know who is the carrier, who is delivering the stuff to you, who all he's exposed to. So avoid anything coming from outside. Maintain your hand hygiene. Avoid touching your face, your nose as much as you can. Try keep washing hands. Even if when you go out to get milk or vegetables, try to wash them properly. Try to wash your hands properly with soap. And so these are basic precautions which you need to take. Try to maintain a social distancing around 1 meter. Even if you're standing in a queue, just avoid being close to people, avoid touching them. And if you feel anybody is coughing or sneezing, just wear a mask or at least stay away from the person. And in case you have any symptoms like fever or headache or cough, dry cough, or difficulty breathing, please do not hesitate to report to a medical practitioner. Just with the thought that you will be quarantined or your whole family would be quarantined, do not let it spread in more of your contacts. So please report. I think there is more of a hesitancy and more of a scare in general public of reporting it to the medical practitioners because they will be asked to quarantine and the whole family would be involved. But I think it is more visible if you involve the medical team as soon as possible.
And we have a lot of viewers who are watching the show right now. So I would request if someone have any questions for Dr. Rajat, so we are more than welcome to address those questions. And we have a new guest, Mark. Hi, Mark. Good morning. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. My location is in New Jersey, South Jersey, outside of Atlantic City. I'm a financial advisor, and my business has come to a halt. I'm doing everything virtually, completely. I was supposed to have a room full of people last week to speak to. I found out the day before that the venue was completely canceled, and find another way of doing it. So immediately I went to Zoom and was able to contact everybody who was invited to my workshop. But as far as everybody, when I hear you guys are talking, your social distancing is everything, constantly cleaning your hands, your clothes, just do everything you can to be away from this virus until this virus comes to a standstill and then hopefully completely goes away. Now, I'm kind of a little bit confused because I'm hearing two different stories about temperatures. If anybody there can talk about it, because I'm ignorant to it. I'm told that the virus will die if we're above a certain temperature. Yet I'm seeing a lot of the population in California, in Florida, parts of the United States that they have higher temperatures. And there's many more cases. Can anybody talk about that?
Yeah, certainly we'll address that as well because in India it's hot, it's summer right now, but we are still having cases. So and we spoke to a lot of doctors, and so they don't have the literature and the practices or the case studies are not shared globally. So no one can tell you, or maybe even WHO, that what the scenario and what would happen in the hotter weather. So I mean, we'll address this question once we have some answers.
So you're saying it's not temperature?
To know about the financial market. So where do you see the market right now?
I'm sorry.
Mark,
so I would like
as per my best knowledge gained from online studies, the temperature factor is only for spreading, but not for the growth or the dying of the virus. And next thing is about coronavirus, particularly the behavior has not been found and had not been that much researched and concluded that in hot temperature it doesn't spread. The chances of spreading any virus is higher in low temperature. The thing is that, but in case of coronavirus, we cannot say that if there is hot temperature, virus can die. Or only the thing is the spreading ratio becomes somewhat slower. Only the thing is that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think so. That is what we are hearing from different people, but we don't have any confirmed news from WHO and from the doctors. And still, the people are verifying and following the case. I think Dr. Rajat might be sharing her view that what happened if the temperature rises? Can we save ourselves with temperature?
These are all assumptions and presumptions. Probably too early to say. We in India are suspecting and presuming that as the temperature goes high in April and June, we might be able to control the spread of the disease. But, there is no scientific literature till now. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope the temperature is a barrier to the spread of virus. But as of now, I cannot make a surety. I cannot assure you about the temperature rise in this virus spread.
Because Mark,
yes,
Shasha, you want to say something?
Hello, Mark. I have a couple of questions for you, please. I'm a retired investor and entrepreneur, and have certain knowledge about financial markets. And right now, the situation, according to many experts, is just as bad as a Great Depression of 1929 or financial crisis of 2008 and 9. What is your outlook on the financial situation? What do you particularly recommend investors to do at this time?
Sasha, great question. Really good question. And that's, it's kind of amazing because everybody here in the United States leads to putting their money in the stock market. And what has happened? I mean, you go through from the Depression up until now, excuse me, you know, the average correction is 30% across the board. So think about something called sequence of returns. When one retires at one time and one retires at a different time. Well, somebody who retired in 2009 compared to somebody who retired in 2007. Think about that. So 2007, we have a market correction, 57% down, versus someone who retires in 2009, and you have a 256% swing all the way up. So people follow these troughs and trends. And there's, and Sasha, you live in Italy. I heard that yesterday.
No, actually, it's Toronto, Canada.
Where?
Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay, Toronto, Canada. So, what I've been trained on is, you know, and I'm sure everybody has heard that, when the herd's going one way, you go the opposite way. Okay, you know, think about Warren Buffett and Sophie's. You know, when the tide goes out, how many boats are floating? Okay, that's the important thing, and people need to understand that. There are, and I hate to go into product, but I will since you asked, Sasha. There's one product that we have out there in the world, and it's called permanent life insurance. Okay, permanent life insurance in our U.S. tax code is code 7702. And it says that if we keep our money in this permanent life insurance policy and the policy stays in force, all of the money coming out of it while you're living is tax exempt. Okay. And obviously when you die, it's tax free to the beneficiary. So there's a great place to put your assets into. Okay. Just that you have to do it over time. And I'm kind of wild because the people that in our country who follow this philosophy, and out of the 1% of high level people of income in our country, only 27% of the 1% realize that. And if we go back to two wealthy families in our country, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers. Does anybody on this chat know those names? Vanderbilts, Rockefellers. They were the two wealthiest families at the same time many, many years ago. But what has happened, no one ever knows about the Vanderbilts anymore, only because of maybe Vanderbilt University that was named after that family. But what happened was that family went broke. But if you know the Rockefellers, you might know like Rockefeller Center. Rockefellers are very much into philanthropy, charity, donating lots of money. But what they've done was followed something called a family office presence. Whereas when somebody, if they want to spend a lot of money on something, it has to go through a board. And when someone is born into the Rockefellers, they purchase high-level permanent life insurance today on that individual. So that asset class will be there when they need it. And they don't have to wait to die. There's these living benefits that they can use while they're alive, whether it's use it as a funnel to purchase anything that their business needs. You know, I know that there's some doctors on the line here. Well, let's say you need instruments for your office. You need to purchase a building. I put a pool in my backyard a few years ago because of I understand this 7702 process. And what happens is when the money comes out of the insurance policy, it actually stays inside the policy. And the money is a collateralized loan to myself, to the policy holder. So all of my assets stays inside of the policy. I get the full dividend on the money, and I can negotiate. I can tell them when I want to pay that loan back. I don't have to pay the loan back. Just when I die, it settles up on death. So I'm able to utilize the benefit while I'm living. And whatever I don't pay back when I pass away, that gets deducted from the death benefit, which then would go to beneficiary. So I'm selling a ton of permanent life insurance to clients all over the United States, right on a virtual camera and through something called e-signatures. So people are buying it. Once I educate them, I wish I was. Is there people in India, Raja? Are you in India?
Yes, I'm from India.
Dr. Gupta, you're in India. Okay. And I'm sure they sell life insurance there, but I don't know the rulings for life insurance in India. Just that life insurance is just a wonderful tool. And Sasha, I'm using that a lot right now. And I'm using things with a floor to them. So we sell a lot of fixed indexed annuities. And so there's a floor to these products where people cannot lose what they have access to the funds. They're out of the market, shadow and index. If you go into a fixed index annuity, but very, very safe. That the important thing here is safe money. Like I said, we're trained on at birth on putting our money out there at risk, and I do think that you should have some money out there at risk. But the problem today, as I'm dealing with elderly people, I talk to a 65-year-old person or 70-year-old person that have 100% of their money over there in the world where they could lose it all. And I shame on the advisor who persuaded these people to put all their money there, and they don't go back and talk to them because they're so much interested in how much money they can make from them. I like Dr. Gupta's philosophy on what you're doing, because you know what? To me, it's not a money thing; it's a human thing, and it's how much you can help people. And today, it's a problem out there because there's so many greedy people. So many people just think of themselves. God put me on this earth so I can speak and I can help and teach and what I've been taught from really good mentors in the world. And I've got quite a few of them, and they've helped me. But you know what? The business thrives organically just because of how people understand how I'm trying to help them. And it's constant referral base. So Sasha, permanent. Toronto, Canada does sell permanent life insurance. There are people out there who do sell them in your country. Find somebody and put a portion. I don't know how old you are, Sasha. But you look like you're about 50. Are you?
Thank you very much for a great compliment, Mark. Though I understand where you're coming from, and the difference between us is that, of course, because I'm retired and I'm not working for anybody, and I never worked for anybody, in fact, in all my life, I can, in my opinion, objectively to observe what's happening in financial markets and share with you my observations. Insurance policy is something entirely different. I'm talking about a real world, real market. Of course, with all this calamity with coronavirus, unfortunately, it is my opinion, but I stand by, that market makers in the United States became incredibly greedy. They're always greedy, and it's good. But in this particular situation, they've done what they never done before. They just refused to provide liquidity to the market. They refused to provide bids to offset the offered shares in many securities. And I was watching that daily through the second level quote. And in some stocks, I could see this picture particularly. For example, some securities, shares were offered at $12. So there is a bid, say 500 shares. There is a bid at $11.75 for 100 shares. As soon as it's filled, the next bid is at $11.10 for 50 shares. It's done. The next one is at 10.5 or even
right.
10. So the bids disappeared. So there were no liquidity in the market, and small investors or people who panic or so on, they had to sell their security at incredibly low prices. And it's been in all securities all at once, even the gold stocks, which historically in times like this should have been going higher. No, they went lower just as well. So small investors wouldn't have a place to hide. All their securities would go down at the same time, especially those accounts which are on margin. So all these people would be wiped out in a matter of 3-4 days. Absolutely. I would like to listen to your comments, please.
I heard part of it. It was a little bit gargled, but I understand what you're saying. That people are selling off things at a low discounted rate now. You know, unfortunately, the market's ugly. You know, and no one knows when it's going to go up or go down. However, people who follow market trends, you know, they're cynical. They look and see, you know, these different slopes, troughs, you know, when the market's going to race, and they look for patterns. You know, today, you know, look how well this market was doing. Okay, and then this comes along, but then, you know, what the government just do? They just stimulated $2 trillion. We were, I believe, close to 24 trillion in debt. Now we're 26 overnight. Okay, how do we get that money back? You know, the problem is we're going more and more and more into debt. You know, bad debt. You know, how do we erase that debt? Following the market. I would just tell people, you know, it's okay to, I'm not going to say take a loss, but, you know, in the United States, you can take a loss and have a $3,000 deduction every year until you have that completely written off. Okay. So that's how it is in the United States. I mean, if you lose $30,000 for the next 10 years, you can write $3,000 off per year on your tax return. So did you really take a loss? Well, you're able to have that deduction. And maybe if you like the market, you buy in again when it's low, when it's lower than what you had it. You know, if you like the market. I don't like the market because it's government controlled. You know, I don't like things that are government controlled, but unfortunately, in every single area of the world, the government does control markets, if we want to believe it or not. You know, I just understand that we need to look at our age, subtract it from 100. And that's the most amount of money that you should have in the market. That's an easy factor to think about. So if we take Sasha, he's 50, subtract it from 100, he should only have 50% of the market. Okay. Now, I don't know how much you have there, but there's other things that you can do with that other 50%, Sasha. You know, that it's safe, it's secure, it's there tomorrow. And not only that, let's just say you're too old. Okay, you know, and I say too old, meaning or you're not healthy. Well, we could put it on another person. Use another person. It's just where the money's warehoused. I call these policies warehouses. It's only where you have it warehoused. The money's going to work the same way, just on a healthier individual. That's all. Hope I didn't get off track.
So Mark,
since you're specialist in insurance, would you agree that insurance companies put a lot of the assets what they have in financial markets? That's how they can make a very healthy return on the investment. So that would allow to pay single policy holders. Because if they wouldn't do that, however they will pay back to policyholders. So they do invest in the markets, whether we like it or not, because that's how the industry works. Would you agree with that?
I heard part of you. It's a little gargled, but I use whole life companies. Okay, companies who give a dividend, who have a track record, who are mutual. There's two types of insurance companies out there. There's stock driven and there's mutual companies. The stock driven companies, who gets paid first? The shareholders do. So and then after that, the policyholders do. In a company, you're going to have no middleman, no shareholders. So direct recognition, all profits go directly to the policyholders. So you have very cash-rich policies. But I look for companies who have a historical interest rate that's been incredible from the Depression. So I use a couple companies in the United States that do have them, and they perform well. And people are like, well, where were you 20 years ago? I'm like, well, it wasn't supposed to be 20 years ago. You were supposed to take a beating now, and then find, and that's what happens. Once they come on board, they're like, oh my God, Mark. So if I take $200,000 of cash out of the policy, the 200,000 still stays inside the policy, and I still earn a full dividend on my money. I'm like, that's exactly right if you do it correctly. So we're architects for these things, and you want to deal with somebody who's competent, who understands. Just like the people that I'm speaking with on the phone. I mean, you guys are specialists in your own way, so people come to you for your specialty. Well, that's the same way with myself and people like me. They're seeking me out, but that is my niche, and I'm going to just say, you don't want to use something, put your money into something that has to worry about, if the market crashes and burns. But if you do like the market with life insurance, there's products out there called indexed universal lives that do have a floor, but you have to ask the companies for their fees too. So I don't know if I'm getting off the track here, because I was listening to you guys as I came on. I'm like, wow, I'm with a group of really smart guys. Maybe I can learn a little bit. Hopefully, I helped you a little bit, Sasha.
Thanks for all the advices. So we have Dr. Tula. Namaste, Dr. Tula, and welcome to the show. We can't hear you.
What was that?
Yes, sir. Dr. Tula from Delhi, India. Yes, sir. How are you doing today? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, sir. I think you have to log in again. Yes, Dr. So we were discussing about the stories on COVID, and Mark mentioned that how we can financially, build a brighter future. So, Mark, do you suggest us to invest right now, or what should we do with the money right now? Because the market is vulnerable, and no one knows that the market will stay for like a couple of months. So, what should one do with the financial advices around, not in terms of US, but generally, where should one put the money?
Well, the problem is people don't want to make irrational decisions. So the first things, they're scared. Okay, they don't know how much further this market's going to go down, and in my opinion, this virus is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I mean, it hasn't come close to running its full cycle. I mean, but we look for patterns. I mean, look over from what has happened in China. People are back out there in the streets where the epicenter of the virus was. But, and I say but, remember, it was China. What happened, if you watched any of the news at that point, you saw many people with the masks on, okay? Many people. This country doesn't have the supplies. Where did the supplies originally come from? They came from China, didn't they? Amazing, okay? So we don't have the supplies here that were coming from China. So you have other companies out there that are they're taking their companies, and I was reading an article the other day, a company called Bauer. They make hockey masks. It was, rather than go out of business right now, they developed a mask, a frontal mask that hospital doctors can use. Yeah. And so they're reinventing themselves. So, but the problem, though, like as I said, you had all these supplies coming from China, in China for the people of China. When it came time to get over here, it's a slow process. And not only that, people started to gouge. Companies started to gouge and jack up their prices too, which is not a nice thing.
I think we should ask.
So
getting
back to you take your time. You take your time. And I mean it. I mean, you don't want to make yourself, broke it's a great time. It's a great time to buy too, if you like the market. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't like the market because I don't have any control of the money.
And I think we should ask these questions to both the doctors in the panel right now. That there are a lot of stuff in terms of medical supplies are coming from China. So I mean, and people are vulnerable right now whether they should use those items. So what do you suggest about it? Because stories are running around that China supplied a lot of test kits to Spain, and those test kits are faulty. Same goes with the ventilators and all. So what do you have to share the stories, Dr. Tola and Dr. Gupta? Over to you.
I heard part of you. Are you want something? You were asking about short term. Is that what
No,
you said?
I'm asking about the medical supplies which are coming from China, because China is one of the major manufacturers of medicine as well as the medical supplies, including the mask and including the ventilators and including the whatnot. I mean, and they are supplying to almost like 90% of the world. So people, in common general people, they are vulnerable to buy those items because it's coming from China. And we are getting news that I mean, there are a lot of faulty test kits which China supplied to Spain, which is not working. Same goes with a lot of things, and the mask is also majority of the mask is supplied by China across the world. So I'm asking to both the doctors that what should take on those supplies, because people are not ready to accept those products which is from China right now because of the situation. So Dr. Tula, what's your take on that?
See, I believe that at the end of the day, I mean, I guess we are more petrified of China rather than really that happening around, because masks and all. I mean, uh, we can, if we have, especially in the bigger hospitals, we have ETO facility, which is there in maximum bigger hospitals. We can always do that, and that is taken care of. About the ventilators, there might be a little bit of technical issues because now I guess everyone is speed tracking the ventilators. So apparently we will have a little bit of hiccups coming from everywhere, not only from China. Even if they are made in India, ventilators also, initially there will be a little bit of a hiccup happening, but I guess over a period of time, I mean, it'll even out on its own. We need to be patient. That's the only take I have. And I really believe that, I mean, we are going overboard with this China thing and trying to have this conspiracy theories around China that the equipment is not good or the masks are infected and all that. I believe, I mean, that's a little overboard. I think we should be realistic in our. And the good part is that I had a word with a lot of my colleagues in Delhi also, who working across the different hospitals, especially in the private sector. So everywhere they have earmarked beds and everything in every hospital. The good part
Okay.
till now is that not many people have reported with corona-like symptoms to these hospitals. So apparently, at the moment, I guess people are sticking, at least in Delhi, people are sticking to their homes. I'm not talking about the migrant population. Definitely, we've seen chaos happening on the roads with that. But apart
Yeah.
from the people who are staying in the city per se, they are sticking back to the homes, and I presume that's a good thing and a good sign for things to come if they stick on to that. Of course, there's a bigger issue with the people who are the migrant lot who are now on the roads, and I'm sure the government will try and intervene at the earliest and try to do something around it.
Dr. Gupta, you want to share something on the China story?
No, I totally agree with Dr. Tula that we should not be biased with China. We have been taking all these supplies in so many years, and we have been using the equipment. So let's not get biased by the fact that they might be infected or something like that. So these are all theories and various WhatsApp messages which is being circulated. So let's try to make more in India if we can, but we cannot just be biased and create a more havoc situation. It's already a lot of panic around. So with all this stuff not being used, we will be in dire shortage of the hardware and the equipment. So let's not create confusion and suspicion among ourselves. So I totally agree.
I 100% agree on that. We have no absolute fact or proof that anything would come out of any country that would harm the humans. There's always speculation. I think we should keep our eyes and ears open to speculation. Speculations and what ifs are what and how we find our answers in future development and researches. Without that, we would never grow. But you can't just say you think because they might have a wrong feeling about it that they would do something like this. That to me would be more on a human individual layer. Just be careful what you use. Be a real lab technician or scientist right now and document everything you do so that when you do, or if something does become infected, you know what, where, and when. Collect your own personal data like we do in the labs. I worked in a lab for a long time developing technology. We had to be very careful with the type of technology we had. So we had well documented books. And that way, if something went wrong, we could go back and retrace our steps and find out what went wrong, why, and how. But there's a lot of speculations, fear-driven speculations, but we can't live by fear. Fear is very dangerous. We have to live by letting that fear, like Nick says, panic is good sometimes. If we panic sooner, we might not have this epidemic. But, if we took those extreme measures sooner, less people would have died. So some panic is logical and good, and weighing that sometimes is very hard because you don't want to be looked at as taking an extreme measure and the whole world going, oh, they took, they were extreme, they're ridiculous. I think there's a balance there. But I would rather err on ridiculous in something like this than lose lives. And I think now's the time to do what everyone else is doing. Stay home, use the phone, call your doctor if you think you're sick. Don't go infect the world. Wash your hands, get back to the basics. That's not being crazy. That's being normal and healthy and getting back to these healthy mental and mindful spiritual ways. Everyone yesterday, the last 2 days have been talking about it doesn't matter who your God is. We're not, we need to set our religions aside and we need to start praying. We need to get back to the basics. Something that Ankit shared with me impacted my heart greatly is crime rate's gone down in India. These are things we have to look at, count our blessings. Maybe God answered all of our prayers in an odd and crazy way. When we drive to work every day, we're probably thinking, gosh, I wish I could stay home one more day and do something.
Can we play a small game where we can ask the 3 positives what happened due to Corona?
Yes,
because
let's do that.
I have seen that the pollution level is going down, and the birds have started flying in the sky, and we are also listening the bird squirrel basically because it was not happening from past 10-15 years or so. What do you think about that, Dr. Rajat?
I totally agree. And especially for we doctors, we have a very good family time. We are forced to have a very good family time. So it is definitely helping us to have a big family bonding. And unlike the Western world, we people are like all the time working all 7 days a week. So it's giving us good air to breathe, especially in India, with more birds around. They have a more healthy atmosphere to live in, with humans not invading anymore. And yes, we are having a very good family time, good family bondings, playing with children, finding out different ways to keep them busy.
Yeah.
So definitely, there's a lot of positive to take in.
Dr. Dullah, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing is that it has given me time to recharge my batteries because last 3 years extensive travel for me all across the country and abroad also. So now that is a good time to recharge. The other thing is get back to the books. So it gives us a little bit of time to, brush up our knowledge a little bit more. Third is that we have started doing the culinary skills have also being owned now. So in college, we used to cook our own, dishes and do the utensils and the cleaning. So we are now learning that back again. On a lighter note, I think that has given us a little bit more time to re-indulge in all our, hobbies and all that, whatever, listening to music and all, which I guess we doctors generally along the way forget a lot because we are too embroiled in, our work. So I think that's so. In all, I think, I mean, Providence has given us an opportunity to, I mean, just relax a little bit more.
Great.
Who?
Saying some good habits or something good happening
So
due to
yeah,
COVID.
so it was more because of my religious roots, but if it was Lent, and so I decided to dedicate a prayer. I do this every year to my mom, but I'm more adequate at it because I'm staying home, and so I pray every morning, meditate a little bit. I'm looking at the foods I'm eating, trying to sit in the sun because they say absorbed vitamin D is healthier for you. Because we've been fortunate enough to speak with doctors around the world. So I'm listening more to people around the world thanks to this show and Ankit, who's introducing me to everybody around the world. And so that's, my healthier mindset is coming from everyone else and doing something with my family every night. I'm just making sure that we do something together. I'm worried. I'm worried about people in New York. I'm worried about many things. So this has been different in my life. Most people know I don't fear much. There are very few things I fear in life. And as a parent, you always fear for your children. So that's different in my life, and the blessings are saying, okay, God, you want me to stay home. I'm home. So gardening. I'm
Mark,
gardening.
that's a good one. Mark, what do you want to say about this? 3, 4 positives you see during COVID, maybe after COVID? Mark?
Who?
Can you hear? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. You
Hi,
just
Mark.
Technical difficulties. So what I want to ask is that what are the positives you think during COVID-19 which you have never seen from past so many years? Because we have seen a lot of positives in India.
I'm sorry. I'm on an iPad, and you went completely gargled. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Kim, can you ask me a question?
Can you hear me, Mark?
I can
Sometimes.
hear you, Kim. Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear
sometimes the
you.
connections are different because we're worldwide. He's asking, what are the blessings? We're playing a game here. What are your blessings? And what are you doing differently now with what we're doing?
Oh my God. Completely. Number one, cleaning the hands. I never cleaned my hands so much,
Wow.
but you know what? It's mindset. It's habits that we need to be in that we weren't in before as much. Okay. Yes, I clean my hands, but I'm cleaning my hands after everything that I touch. Just sanitizing, social distancing. I mean, yeah, I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything through just virtual meetings with people. It's kind of wild because I'm finding myself busier. Once people get the word that I'm doing virtual meetings, they're fine with it completely. But not only that, praying more. I never prayed so much before.
Wow.
I needed to do it more. I'm doing it more now.
Wow. Prayer.
So I have a
Really
question
important.
for you,
It's
Mark.
really important.
I have a
I
question
watched you.
that
I watched you guys yesterday, and I saw everybody. As soon as you started this, I was like, "Yeah, I love it. It's wonderful."
so I have a question that around the world, we have spent so much of money on global warming and on pollution control and on different pollution levels, be it air pollution, water pollution, or land pollution, maybe. But during this COVID-19 lockdown around the world, we have seen a different picture of the world, and we are not spending anything, just the lockdown. So, do you think how much money we were spending to save the global warming and the pollution level, and how much we can save or put that money to the medical industry? Do you have any numbers or any facts, or you can come talk about it maybe in the next show? Can you,
I think we went dead,
Was that to me?
Ankit. So I think we're, technical
can-
difficulties on Saturday. Everybody's online. And there you go, Ankit.
yeah.
One of the things as we grow, we will heighten our technology for the show. But I have noticed that even TV networks who are going to locations, they're struggling with this as well. So it's not just our end. It is a global problem because we're all using the internet. We're all using the technical resources at one time, and you're going to have a slowdown. Our technology has a threshold, just like our bodies, and when that threshold's met, it starts to go down. So we just have to stay true and patient. I think we're all praying more. I think we're all taking a deeper look inside of ourselves. I heard that a friend of a friend was just released from the hospital. He'd been there almost 2 months with what they speculated to be COVID-19, which means he was there a lot longer than what we reported the data here in the United States. And he was at the Duke facility from what I was told, but speculated, right? We don't know. They're not sharing everything with us. This is what I tell someone sometimes: to grow and learn, you have to speculate. We have to be careful of false information that's out there. What is the difference between false information and somebody speculating and trying to learn? And we have to be very, very careful. And that's one of the things is I'm very careful when it's paid for media. I'm very careful when it's commercialized media news. And one of the things I wanted to make sure of is as a board and group of people who panel talk, that we all understand this is not paid for. This is not media where we're commercialized. We try to bring as much real information as possible. But from the human aspect of this, these are people who really live this environment and what we're doing. And these are the positive things that we're trying to bring out of it and gain from it, because we're at a point now, we know it exists. Eventually there'll be a solution, but right now a lot of people unfortunately are going to be dying. Our graph is still going up. It's not going to go down because you stayed home 1 day or 2 days or 1 week. We're not going to see a difference for 3 months. Okay, because our stats are 10 days late. Our test results are 10 days later. So everything we're looking at today, we're not going to see that flat line like we're hoping for weeks. And these are things we have to be real about. And I love all of this positive information and some financial advice. We need to start looking at our finances.
We have some questions coming in from our viewers, and they're asking to both the doctors that they have some symptoms, or they are feeling that they have some symptoms of COVID in their family. So, what is the first step they should do? Because they are not sure how to go about it. So, can you answer the questions, doctors? How to tackle those situations?
So the thing here is that we need to be understanding one thing, that see, if we have the mild symptoms, I think symptomatic relief is more than adequate. That means if you have sore throat, maybe you can do a little bit of gargling. If you have betadine gargles at home, it is okay. Otherwise, you can use saline water. You can do a lot of steam inhalation. These are all symptomatic things which are going to help you. Now, if you're running fever and the fever is not breaking down or it is a high grade fever, then I presume that is the time where you should be looking at going to your local doctor first or the nearest hospital facility. We do not want to crowd hospitals with too many people, because ultimately at the end of the day, we need to understand that the hospitals are also equipped up to a certain limit only. So we should be careful with that. I think mild symptoms we don't need to worry at all. If you have breathing difficulties or you are having, I mean, something more than that, or you feel that the chest is very noisy, in that situation, you should report to the nearest hospital.
So, sir,
Apart from there, I don't.
do you suggest patients to report to the doctor at the hospital, or do you suggest to call them on phone and then do the needful? Because
So
I
first,
visited one of the doctors, I visited one of the hospitals in Delhi, and a lot of patients are coming directly to the hospital, and that is what the chaos happens. Because a lot of
no, so
patients,
they should not. They should not. I think mild symptoms. See, part of this is a psychological thing also. For example, I've been suffering from this dry hacking cough for now around 2 months, and have been on basically basic anti-allergic medication. Now, if I was not a doctor, the first thing would have struck me is that, I mean, that's just a thing I'm sharing with you on my personal front. That not being a doctor, the first thing would have been that, have I got COVID, right? So, I mean, I do understand that there are seasonal things also happening around. So there are a lot of flus, there are anti-allergic things. Now, hopefully, with the AQI index coming down, I presume I will also get better on that part on a lighter note, because
yeah,
the air is going to be better now. So I think
true,
all those things will also help us in the long run. So my only request to all the people is not to panic. I am sure there are many, many doctors all across all cities, all across the globe, who are available, open to 24 hour into 7 consultations, right? Because this is what our basic etiquette teaches us to be as a doctor, that we have to be available to all the patients all across, cutting across religion, biases, right? So, I mean, that's the way it is. And I think Dr. Jain will also agree with me on that only. So that's the entire thing.
and also we are getting, I mean. We are getting messages from our viewers across the globe that not in India but in different countries, Indians are living across that in different countries. So they are trying to reach out to us, mainly Indian population, that they are not able to find a doctor in consultation to what they do at this point of time. So they wanted to talk to an Indian doctor in India. And I told them that we have a lot of doctors on our show. They can join our show and maybe they can ask questions. But they are looking for a one-on-one call or maybe a one-on-one discussion. So is it something which is going on, or is it possible we can set up a platform where you can
So
talk
yes,
to?
An- so Ankit, I think that's a very good idea of yours. So I would, I mean, strongly recommend that you can do that. I think we'll have the only problem with, especially with USA and us, is going to be the timing. So
Yeah.
we'll have to, I mean, kind of schedule that between a time which suits both of us. So I
Okay.
presume this time of what we are using is at the moment, this time 2 hours or 3 hours we can earmark every day, and
Yeah.
we can get 2 3 people, and I'll also refer a couple of my friends also, so that it doesn't boil down. So we have as many people as possible on the, I mean, network, so that we can try and work it around. I think that's a good idea, and we should go ahead with this. I mean, if we can help and
Yeah.
provide some succor to anyone, I think it
Yeah.
will be great.
Dr. Gupta, what do you want to say about it? Because I'm getting a lot of messages from across the globe, and people are panicking, and also a lot of people who are working in outside country, their families or their parents are living in India, and they're concerned because they can't fly. I mean, if someone is in Australia and UK, so they have banned the flight for next 6 months. So there's a lot of chaos going around. So how we can handle those situations, and can we arrange some kind of a platform where they can, we can solve their queries or address their solutions at this point of time?
Yes, surely we can be of help, and we have a whole network of doctors dealing, and me and Sir himself, we can be of real help. You can definitely fix up a platform and the timing schedule and all, depending upon the time difference, and we can definitely be helping them out so that there is no panic and the right people are triaged to the hospital. Not everybody rushes to the hospital, and rightly said, only severe symptoms needs to be reported. The most important thing is if you have any symptoms of flu and you don't rush to the hospital, first isolate yourself, try to take simple precautions, wear a mask, uh, try not coughing, and try to restrict your secretions, pomides, and take simple measures like gargling, hot water, simple paracetamol, and things doesn't settle down, then or it worsens over a period of couple of days, then you must report to concerned doctor. But do isolate yourself and do report in terms of severe symptoms occurring.
We also have one more
Ankit,
question.
Ankit, can I add one thing more there?
Yes,
So I
yes,
would
sir.
just add one thing more, that we need to understand that ultimately the testing facility still in India is not up to that level that we can do mass testing. So we need to be very careful that who are the population which we are testing. Unfortunately, that is a reality with us, that we should only be testing real suspects who we really suspect to have coronavirus, because we cannot afford to waste this testing kit on people who just because of some paranoia are coming into the hospital and insisting on getting themselves tested for corona. Because this is a reality with us. We unfortunately are not in a situation at the moment where we can do mass testing. I mean, we have our constraints, so we should try to be very, as responsible citizens, we should try and only go for testing if we really, if a doctor has seen us and has advised us testing. We should not rush to these centers, because now the government, I think, has given some labs also,
Yeah,
the
my lab
private
is one
labs
of the.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to be very careful with that. Otherwise, what happens is that, see, there are many people who will be able to afford the testing just for the sake of getting them tested. I don't think that's a very wise idea. So we should be really careful on that.
Sir, we have one more question from a guest in India, and the viewers want to know that sometimes while going out, maybe at hospitals or maybe buying groceries, so they might come across to someone who might be having some symptoms, or a COVID positive patient who is not sure whether he is having those symptoms or he is suffering from this thing. But when something or some news spread out at that point of time, so there's a chaos going to happen. So how should we maintain the distance, and or what do you suggest that if you find someone with a positive virus and he's right in front of you, so how should one deal with that situation?
So Ankit, then again, the concept of social distancing comes into the picture. Number one is that. Number two is try not to be front on with uh, the presumed person. So that means you should not be one to one in front of the person. Third thing, which is most important, is, as I have reiterated it again and again, I mean, just not, I mean, trying to sound paranoid on it, but the rule of the thumb is that when you are gone out and you are coming back to your home, the the the, the classical Indian principle of leaving the shoes outside, removing all clothes and putting them into your washing machine at that first instant,
Yeah,
taking a hot shower immediately after that, and I mean scrubbing yourself all over with the soap. These are one of these most preventive precautions which you can take, and I think, I mean, everyone should follow that. At least if you are going out, I mean, we generally are not going out unless and until we have an, I mean, dire requirement of going out, assuming that that is happening. So I presume that you should always do all of this as an SOP, right? We doctors are used to doing it. A lot of and Dr. Gupta will agree with me there, that we have a habit of, I mean, we are many times scolded by our spouses also that you wash your hands too much or
yeah.
you're being paranoid, right? Because doctors generally have a habit of doing that. We surgeons are very used to washing hands, right? So this, I presume, we should be doing that. So that is the only way, I presume, that we can try and limit the damage to whatever we can.
Thank you. Thanks for answering all the questions, Dr. Tula. Dr. Rajat, you know about the situation happened in Bhilwara, and the whole town is quarantined, and government is suggesting to do the testing for almost like 1.3 million people in Bhilwara. So, do you think is it possible, and how much time will it take to get the results out? Because I mean, the whole India is concerned about the situation, and we are expecting that something could happen in different states as well. Because one of the doctors in Delhi also happened to be positive, and he also sees a lot of patients. So, do you have any story about that?
See, again, it's not practically possible to undergo testing the whole region of 1.3 million people and getting the results quick on. And there are very high chances of human errors coming in if you take so many samples right away, and there's a lot of problems coming in. So I guess let's not panic. Let's again be very selective for patients who are having severe symptoms, and restrict our testing to some patients, not just jump on to getting everybody tested. And I think things should be under control. I'm very positive about the whole move by the government of India of social distancing, and it's a very bold move. And I think we will have things under control.
Great. And
So can I ask a question to Kimberly and Mark there in US?
sure.
So Kimberly and Mark, whoever wants to take this on. So in US, you have you unfortunately with your country, you don't have everyone covered under medical insurance. So I mean, Obamacare was something, if I'm not wrong, was trying to incorporate a lot of these people into some kind of cover. So what is happening at the moment with the present dispensation? Because what I understand out of it is that Mr. Trump uh, I mean, did away with the Obamacare program, which was being implemented at that time, or with the ambitious program which Mr. Obama had. So, what are you doing about the people who don't have insurance?
So awesome question. And I think that if Mark would also join me in reviewing the stimulus program to understand financially how our country is dispersing not just financial care to people, but also financially for medical care. That's a big question because you know, a lot of people, they're against one medical care versus another. I am, I have my views on what is health care for our country. Right now, I think if somebody needs medical care, it is being provided. At what cost? I don't know. Um, you know, those who definitely have insurance probably are definitely getting medical care. But right now, our hospitals cannot even take the amount of people coming in for help with the COVID-19. What they're being asked to do is like everyone else in the rest of the world, stay at home and phone us. If, you know, some hospitals have that age. I'm certain that our country is doing exactly what your countries are doing. How do you address this financially? And this is a question that has been posed now by many people. But, you know, Mark, do you have any more input on that from the financial side of things? We're still trying to work it out, but what are your thoughts? The U.S. is so different from the rest of the world when it comes to health insurance. I was very comforted when my son was in Mexico for a while. He travels with his work, and in Mexico, he would get his treatments for free if he needed something, or very, very low cost at which he could afford out of pocket. When he comes back to America, we're required to have health insurance, and he finds it, you know, he struggles receiving health care versus when he's out of the country. So, Mark, do you have an input? Are you back? Because I feel like Mark's input would be very much different than my input from a financial advisor standpoint, because he sells insurance or knows he's part of that insurance factor. Is Mark there?
I'm here. Just that you're once again that signal for audio is not real strong. Can
Okay.
everybody hear me clearly? Can you hear me
Yeah, did you
clearly?
hear the question? Because it was very impactful on our healthcare financial situation dealing with this, because we are an insurance-based country. We had Obamacare, which was nothing but insurance, as far as I'm concerned. If you didn't have insurance, you didn't get care. That's how that Obama was not about affordable care. Obama was about buying insurance. Okay, Obamacare was, you had to have insurance in order to receive health care. It was not about giving health care to people. It was about owning insurance first. So, Mark, what is
So
your
Kimberly, can I interrupt you for a minute? So can I ask you one thing? So this policy was to give insurance to people, but the payment had to be done by the people, or the state would
Yes.
give
No,
do the
you
payment
didn't
on
get
their
it for
behalf.
free. You didn't get it for free.
Oh, okay.
No, it was about buying insurance. If you did not
So the
purchase insurance,
okay.
then you would be punished during taxation, and you would
So
have to
the
pay a
state would not
penalty
help.
during
State would
taxation.
not help in monetarily on that insurance.
No, and there are people who argue with me because they felt like they got a better deal, but only two insurance companies survived the Obamacare influx, and they monopolized the industry. So no, that had nothing to do with providing affordable health care to people. It forced us to buy insurance. If we
Oh,
did not purchase insurance, then we would be punished during taxation season. If you read the Obama bill, which was 3,600 odd pages, it was about forcing the Americans to purchase insurance for health care. If you did not purchase insurance, then you would be punished. Healthcare here became very unaffordable, according to my doctors, because of laws like that and because of insurance taxation on us. But in other countries, I learned, healthcare is very affordable. You could pay for it out of your pocket when you're there, which is why so many people went to Mexico for their health care and dental care, or Canada. Pharmaceutical care is very unaffordable here unless you have insurance first. My medications would cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars by the end of the year. Because I pay an insurance company, it does reduce that cost. My monthly treatments are astronomical. I would, I have to own insurance, and each year that insurance goes up in rate. So there are arguments. We are a country divided on this issue. I don't know if Mark could shed from a financial advisor standpoint, medically, how are we dealing with this to treat people with COVID-19 who can't afford it?
Well,
That's
I mean, you know what? If you look on the surface, like Sasha's in Canada, and everybody thinks that Canada has the problem resolved. I know of cases where people waited long periods of time for surgeries. You know, when you're dealing with specialty care, it's there's a lot of bad stories out there. Overall, though, Sasha, if you don't mind me just sidebarring this, you tell me in Canada, how's health insurance there first? Where everybody's supposed to have coverage, okay, paid for through the government. How's it work there?
Okay, that's how it works in Ontario, because every province has its own insurance health plan. In Ontario, we have something what calls OHIP. It's Ontario Health Insurance Plan. Essentially, it's regulated by government, and if you are a resident, a permanent resident of Ontario, which I happen to be, I pay $0.00, and I have complete coverage. Now, it doesn't include dental. Dental is something different. You can purchase different dental insurance, or it could be part of your company policy or so on. So in this case, if I have some medical need, first what I would do, I would approach my family doctor. Family doctor would see me, and then depends on what exactly illness or whatever the case might be. She would direct me. In my case, it's she. She would direct me to a different medical professionals, and I would get treatment there, or it might require hospital treatments. But doesn't matter what it is; it's still completely free, and it's accessible to everybody who is a permanent resident of province of Ontario. Now, British Columbia, Alberta, all other like Quebec, they all have different plans, but they're very similar to what we have here in Ontario.
So, Sasha, can I interrupt you for a minute? Can I have a... So, Canada is, I presume, I mean, they have a, you can call it a socialized health plan. So
Yeah,
that means that the taxation is very heavy generally, right? But they provide everything for the citizens. It is one wonderful country which has, I mean, if you're staying in the country, I presume it is a good country to stay in. For maybe making money, it may not be the best country around. Do you agree, disagree with me there, sir?
yes, I agree with you. I think United States compared to Canada is way a much more entrepreneurial country. It has a lot of economic incentives for people to succeed. And Canada, in that case, I think definitely plays a second fiddle to United States. However, there are pluses, and I think this medical insurance, like all here what we have in Ontario, I think it's a very, very precious um, advantage that Canadians, they don't want to give it up to pursue more economic advantages. I think they're okay with status quo of what we have. I personally may disagree with this. However, I respect the sort of majority point of view and wouldn't argue with that.
I think that our United States health system is in trouble. I really do. Every time that there's a presidential election, the first thing they're talking about is trying to nip this in the butt. I mean, Bernie Sanders wanted to do something that totally impossible to do. We would be in more financial debt if we had everybody could have health insurance in this country the way he wanted to do it. You look and see. I work in a real small sector for health insurance. I work with people that are 65 and over. In the United States, something called Medicare Supplement or Medicare Advantage. And that's the health insurance that people could receive once they're retired or once they're hit 65 years old. Covers office visits, hospitalization up to 80% if you do a Medicare supplement. If it's an advantage, it covers everything. But it's either pay you now or pay later. And people think that just because they're not paying a premium for their medical advantage health insurance, they'll be paying more out of pocket for the copays. But as far as 65, and if let's say if you're self-employed, I don't know how many are self-employed on this call. I mean, my health insurance for a family of four, wife, two children. Now I'm 58 years old, but I pay $42,000 per year for an Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield $1,000 deductible. It's crazy. $42,000 a year. You have to have a separate job just for that, and this prices keep rising. There's no cap to this. You know, so why are they charging this amount of money? Well, go on the other side. You know, I mean, they have liability that they have to pay. They have doctors that they have to pay, but that money's not all going to the doctors. Okay.
See, I want to switch over to a blockchain payment program that goes into a medical system. A blockchain payment, no hands in the pot. We pay for medical care through the blockchain, and the doctors get the money. Right now, I pay $1,000 a month. My doctor I see only gets $10 from that treatment. $10. That's not how it should be. My doctors are going bankrupt treating me. And I paid an additional for eye care, and it was maybe $60 a month. I see my eye doctor once a year for tests. He gets $10 for that visit. That's it.
Kim, not only that, there's over 65,000 billing codes out there. I work a lot with doctors.
Yeah.
I work a lot with them on the accounts receivable side, and that's the hidden part of doctor practice. Doctors are phenomenal plastic surgeons and pain management. Okay, they're phenomenal. This Dr. Tola sounds like a genius, and I'm sure he's wonderful. But guess what?
Thank you for your kind comment.
His specialty is not economics, okay, and on the financial side, that's not a specialty. So, majority of these doctors don't pay attention to that. They leave it off to a third party administrator to go collect the bills. And what happens is they don't read the contract that they sign, and these third party administrators will only go after the money one or two times. Because the biggest problem we have, as I said at the beginning, there's over 65,000 billing codes in the country. They're inputted by a human being. Human beings make mistakes.
You are, and Mark, and Dr. Tula, I hope you're listening to this because, and good morning, Dr. Sagu. But listen to
good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Kim, Ankit, Dr. Tula. Yeah. Mr. Mark.
Good morning, Sagu.
Tasha.
Good morning, Dr. Sagu. Good to see you, sir.
So I want to share an experience about our stupid billing codes. We have billing codes to heal people. If your symptoms or your disease is not on that code, they can't do anything for you. I can't get the surgery I need. I can't get the medications I need because I'm not part of that billing code. It hasn't been defined. So if I'm sick and dying from something, the insurance won't pay for it, even though I'm paying for insurance. Right now it's going to go up to $2,000 a month. I received my notice. I'm going to pay $2,000 a month, and they can say no to all my treatments. And this happens all the time. I've had my doctors get on. My doctors should not get a surgeon. Never get angry. I think they need to stay happy so they can go perform good surgeries. I've had my surgeon, top of his industry. He is the head of the industry. Get on the phone and yell at the insurance companies. He is yelling at them. If I don't do this procedure, she could die. If I don't do this, I don't care. And then I go, you know what? I'll just pay for it. Screw it. I'm paying for insurance, but I'll just freaking pay for whatever it is you have to do for me.
So, Kimberly, I would like to tell you one thing, that it is in insurance industry, it is a copy paste which is happening. So what it means is that what is happening in your country is virtually being repeated in our country and so on. So what happens is the insurance companies generally have a certain kind of surgical codes which they have, and they will always adhere to it. Now, the trick in getting it done is that the doctors have to be very, very, they have to have a great acumen to present the case in the right manner to get it cleared. Because if the problem is that if you don't do it right, now 9 out of 10 times is you will have only queries coming up back again and then back forth going around. I, being a plastic surgeon, I am privy to it that whatever I am putting for insurance, 9 out of 10 times the first time it is going to get rejected. So I have again to write the entire thing. So I generally try doing it from the first instant only, telling them very clearly that this is not a cosmetic surgery, this is a reconstructive surgery. This is what is going to happen. This is the diagnosis. And once you do it right, then I presume the chances of it getting rejected are less. But the problem is that you need to have documentation very straight on from the first time only. Otherwise, 9 out of 10 times in my branch, at least, we are sure that it will be rejected.
Right. I agree. We have to be logical, especially with rare diseases like I have or people like me have. But to me, when a doctor determines something is necessary, we should respect, because sometimes they're there at a split moment making decisions, and we should not have to consider whether a procedure or it needs to save somebody will save, has to be paid for or not. That's one of the reasons why I'm not crazy about our medical care system here in America. Mark brought on a dead-on subject. It's always determined by our politicians and politics, and we are divided. Our country is very, very divided, and when you are divided, you fall. And that's our medical system falls because we are divided. We are not united, and we have yet to find a real politician that unites us. Other countries are united in a way that they can manage their people in a real way, in a real healthy way. And everyone says our way is healthier.
Well, see, the problem we
not. It's about money.
Billing codes. Yeah, these billing
Can I
codes are
ask
such
a
a
basic question?
problem. Okay, and they're inputted by a human being, and 30% of them, on the average, are inputted incorrectly. So the doctor practice is not getting paid, and once they decide to pay attention to it, their business is going down. So what they do is, now these are specialty care doctors. They'll join the hospital system because they can't make it on their own any further. They're out, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they have to join a system that's going to pay for their benefits and pay their liability insurance because they can't afford the insurance any longer. Excuse me one moment.
So Kimberly, my question is, what happens if, coming back to the same question, that if suppose a person is there who cannot afford healthcare, doesn't have an insurance, for example, someone who is very poor or something, and something happens to him, then what happens? How does it go around in the country?
See, if I answer that question, I'll get my hand slapped. But we're not gagged. We're not gagged. But everyone has their opinion here, and it's very strong. In my opinion, our medical care costs. But we also have doctors who don't care. They're going to treat you anyway, and we'll figure out the money later. So fortunately, we have doctors like yourselves who care more about the people's health care and well-being than they do their pocketbook. So people will get cared for. And I think Mark will
do the
back me up on
hospitals,
this.
I'm sorry, I'm disturbing you. I wanted to just ask that, do the hospitals take in these patients?
So, but we can't right now. The hospitals have banned people with the disease to come to the hospital. You have to phone in first. They will evaluate you based on, from what I have learned recently, your age and the how far along, what stage you're in, and if you can breathe or not. So they're not right now, as far as I'm concerned. It's not going to be about the money, but eventually the medical industry has to be paid for this. So I can't answer that question. We will get somebody on to answer that question. Yes, Sasha.
Yes, I have a question to Dr. Sago. Hello,
Hi,
Dr.
Sago.
Sago.
Yes.
Yes, please, Sasha.
And to Dr. Tula as well. What I'm curious about that we are all relying on Kit. You always provide us this tables of how the coronavirus,
Spreading across the world.
what it develops in different countries and how many cases or so on. However, in some countries like South Korea, they test almost everybody. In some countries like United States, they test only those people with the symptoms. If you don't have symptoms, you don't get. Even if you have symptoms, it doesn't guarantee that you will be tested. Then how are reliable this cross tables of so many cases in so many different countries? How reliable are they?
Yeah, Sasha, actually, the phase which we are facing right now, it's in between phase 2 and 3, and in 3 in US, in India, it's between 2 and 3. So earlier it was okay that we were contact tracing and we are testing, we are isolating all those contacts which come across in contact with the positive patient. But now we cannot afford to only isolate all those patients. We have to extensively test for all those patients who were in contact if we really want to break the chain. So, in my mind, according to me, I think everybody who is in that chain, already in that coronavirus chain, has to be tested extensively. Doesn't matter, it may be antibody based test or the PCR based test.
Okay,
So
Doctor.
I would, so Sasha, I would like to add on a little bit on that. I mean, I do agree with Dr. Sagu that ideally people should be tested, but the problem here is not that the intent is there to test the people, but unfortunately, we do not have the capability to test the people. There are not enough kits available. That is why this kit rationing is being happening all around.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
virtually, I presume at the end of the day, we are only banking on the herd immunity to basically, I mean, we're wishing that this herd immunity comes into, act and we pass away this crisis. Virtually everything what is happening is guesswork which is happening. Unfortunately, the amount of kits is too less. The amount of patients to be tested is much, much more. So we cannot, I don't think that South Korea scenario will ever happen in our
No,
country.
that
It is very
yeah,
difficult to replicate.
yeah. That is why, Dr. Tula, I would agree with you. Actually, the problem is now we should be investing on the kits, on the ventilators, on the healthcare professionals, on the healthcare beds. So this is the time when your enemy is standing behind and you have an ample time to do all these structurings. So because you must have known that my lab has developed a kit, and that kit is not cost much, and it can do 12,000 patients per day. So we should be developing the new kits. The new kits has to come into the practice. Only that way we can escape. We can fight against this COVID-19. Sitting and waiting for the herd immunity to come, I don't think that would be a better policy right now. We should be working extensively for that. Herd immunity, who knows the herd immunity will take care of us or not? So if we would not be doing efforts, we would not be working, then I don't think we can fight this crisis. We are saying that the mortality rate is low. For you see the cumulative death, I agree. Earlier total cured patients were around 80%, 90% cured patients were there. But now the percentage of the cured patients is going down. Now it is not more than 80%. So the death rate, it was 4%, now it is increasing. So because we don't have much of equipment, we don't have much of uh, uh, we don't have much of the healthcare system. So we are running out of our capacity. We need to develop that. No matter we are investing on other things, healthcare is the only system where we have to invest if we want to fight against this crisis.
There is one more.
I can't agree with you anymore on that. I fully agree and endorse your, opinion on that. And I will also add on that you are perfectly right. But unfortunately, what is happening at the moment is that, either we are in some kind of, policy crisis or paralysis or whatever you can say.
I know.
Apparently on media channels, there is a lot of this happening that we are doing this, we are doing that, but on table or in fact on ground, I don't think much is happening on that. We're still, I mean, just figuring out what to do.
So you would be agree to me. It is not the matter of only the ventilator. It is the matter of the mask which we use for the ventilator. There is a deficiency of those masks. And today I read about that some person in Italy, they are converting their scuba gear into the mask.
Yeah.
So if we need the things, We can develop the things. We cannot be sitting at home. If the scuba gear can be converted into the mask of the ventilator, why not some hardware workers can develop a new ventilator? So we need a ventilator. Yes.
We want to mention about the ventilator being developed by Mahindra and Mahindra, and also how we are I mean, converting the trains into the quarantine movable hospital, because
Yes.
Indian are quarantining the trains, and then I mean, putting the patients
Yes,
inside
yes. So every inch of your space has to be utilized as
Yeah.
your hospital or quarantine centers. Even in US also, I heard in maybe in California and the New York, some of the Navy ships are being converted to in the quarantine places. They are converting their Navy ships into the hospitals. Why not? The thing which we need more, that the work has to be done towards that direction. So if
True.
we need a healthcare beds, develop the healthcare beds. If we need a ventilator, develop the ventilators. If we need the vaccines, why not working on the vaccine? Why not working on the research on the medicine? Why not working on making a mask? Everything, even the face mask has been developed by the simple cloth. So,
Yeah.
if we need something, we can do something. We have a brain, we have a passion to work. So we cannot be sitting still. We need to develop all those skills, and we need to have all those stuff which is needed in this crisis time.
And also, Dr. Saggu, lot of our viewers requested to have Dr. Saggu on our show on regular basis, because there are a lot of questions for you coming from across the globe, and I have shared your number to a lot of people in Australia as well. They have a lot of questions, so they might for you.
Yeah, Ankit, I will try. Definitely, I will try to come. I was busy with some other things, so definitely I will try. Yeah.
And also, as Dr. Tula said, that in Obamacare was something which we are following from past so many years. And as Indians, we thought that Obamacare is something which is free for Americans. That's what we Indians thought.
Yeah,
No, that is not free.
I also thought the same thing only. In fact, I was shocked when Kimberly told me that it's not like that.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ankit, you just listen. This is the era which we have entered now. We are paying for the air also, and we are paying for the water. So if we are paying for the water and the air, how can the care would be free to us? And that too from the politicians. They will grasp you everything. Yeah, they will grasp you everything from you, and you are looking something free from them. Not possible. That's too impossible.
How you compare Obamacare with the Ayushman? The Ayushman campaign, what the Modi ji is doing for Indians? Because I think that is free of cost.
Yeah. So I would like to share my incident. I was operating in Houston, Texas, and I did surgery. I did colostomy for a patient who was having a C-rectum. So he applied for the Obama. He got rejected. Then he was seeking for the Medicare, and I think some part of that has been reimbursed to him. But in Ayushman Bharat, everybody can have that much of insurance, which has been paid by the government, and government is paying from your pocket only. You have given the taxes, and through the taxes, the government is paying for the Ayushman Bharat, and through the Ayushman Bharat, I think everybody is getting benefit of that.
I think if we did it like we paid for gas tax, if everybody paid a little bit, but like Mark, my insurance is costing me more than a mortgage. If it's not covered through a corporation, like if you work for a corporation, you almost have to have a second job to buy insurance. If you don't buy insurance, you will be punished. According to the Obama Act.
I fully agree with you, Kim. The insurance in US is very costly, and it is misused on the higher level.
Yes.
Yes, it is misused over there, and it is very costly. It is very costly. And second, why it is misused is because which has not been started in India. In US, you are insured for your OPD bills. You are insured for the medication which has been given on the OPD basis. That is the main thing for which they are misusing the insurance. In India, you have to be admitted in the hospital only then you will get the insurance, and only before and after 1 month you can get all your OPD bills also, all the OPD medication also reimbursed. But you have to be admitted in the hospital. In US, if you are not admitted, even then you can take the medicine from the insurance. You can get the consultation, and that has been totally misused over there.
Well,
I want to. So
Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to, I just wanted to tell Kim and Mark and Sasha that we have a policy by the Indian government where we are giving free of cost health insurance to 75% of the Indians as of now, and the policy
Yes,
costs
yes.
around 500,000 Indian rupees, and that is a good
Yeah.
amount. That is a good amount annually, and their government is not charging a single penny. But my question to
Yeah,
Mark is that why we have introduced the health insurance and what that health insurance company is earning from, because we have introduced a concept and now I mean just have to pay the EMIs or we have to pay the money to them on regular basis and we are not able to utilize that money. What do you think about it? Do we need to resume or maybe do we need to take a stand on that? And also can we talk about global health insurance, because people are traveling to different countries and whenever they they just go out from the country, the insurance is not covering. So do we have something called global health insurance for everyone?
The answer to that is no. Well, I'm going to say this to you. For those that are 65 and over who are on Medicare and have a Medicare supplement, they need to make sure that they call into the insurance carrier before they go travel to another country to make sure that they can be protected if something happens to them, through their health while they're traveling abroad. Is there a global insurance? None that I'm aware of. I don't sell global. I would love to be in that market. It's a huge market because there's so many people need help there. And the ones that are out there selling it don't know what they're doing, unfortunately.
So, Ankit, I would like to add a little insight into this. So, generally, what happens is that whenever we are traveling abroad, we generally take an insurance, right? Which a
Yeah.
part of that is basically the travel insurance, which covers medical insurance also.
Travel.
Apart
Right.
from there in India, there are certain companies who are providing for insurance in many countries all across the world. But the exclusion is basically USA and I presume Canada. These are two countries which are exclusively, and England also. So these are the three countries which they have opted out. I do not know the reason, maybe because of the cost or whatever. But there are many companies, Indian companies, which are now providing insurance offshores also.
But
The
sir,
only thing is their premium is too much.
but
The
sir, my
premium
basic
is
question my basic question is that why are we paying to the insurance companies? We
so
are
I'll
paying.
tell you the
You got
reason. The reason is that basically what happens is that God forbid, see, we need to understand that ultimately we are paying a certain amount of premium and we are getting a certain amount of services for that premium. For example, let us presume that you were paying around 50,000. I'm sure you can convert it in dollars. So if you're paying around 50,000 of rupees, in insurance, so you will be getting a cover of around a 50 lakh or something like that, right? So basically what happens is, God forbid, due to whatever reasons you fall ill or anything, or you require hospitalization, which goes into these, because we need to understand that in India also, healthcare is relatively cheaper than Western countries, but it is not that cheap if you can, take our scenario into account. We also have these exclusively great five-star hospitals where the cost is not less, right? So
Yeah.
apparently, if you are admitted to an ICU sitting for a day, I'm sure Dr. Sagu will agree with me that generally you are charged around 40,000 to 50,000 for a day. So you can imagine that if you have got admitted for a long haul, that 50 lakh will also be over within 1 month or 2 months, something like that.
But sir, but
Yeah.
do you agree
Ankita,
with me that the insurance companies and the hospitals who are talking about the private hospitals, they are running an industry, because I am paying to them just because I need a safety, and whenever I need to cover myself, I can redeem those things. But whenever that thing happens, there are a lot of chaos. You know that there are a lot of follow up. I need to follow with all these insurance companies, the TPAs, and the medical staff, and then I'm not sure whether I'll get the payment. And that's why I'm asking you, because it should be simple and easy for everyone. Then whenever I need certain insurance, I go to visit a hospital and it should be covered. But it's not happening
Yeah.
like that.
Ankit,
Yes,
Ankit, answer to your first question is why we are paying. So the simple principle: without giving, you cannot take anything. Even this is a principle of handshake also. When you handshake with somebody, it is giving and taking, because you are giving your hand, he is giving your his hand. So without giving, you cannot take anything. Now answer to your second question is, suppose, I mean, you are paying only say 20,000 Indian rupees per month, per year annually, and you are taking benefit of 20 lakhs. Till you are healthy, you will say that I'm paying but I'm not getting. But God forbid, you are admitted in the hospital, there is a huge bill for your illness, and you are getting all those bills cashless or reimbursed. Then you will not say that I'm paying and not getting. So you have to give something to get something. This is an insurance. Whenever you are sick, then you can get.
But sir,
and
everyone
and
is ready
and
to
and
pay.
and
We are
and
not
and,
saying that
and,
we don't want to
and
pay.
no. So whenever the company is going to pay for you, uh, the company definitely is going to give you so many formalities,
So,
because
sir,
it is not easy. It is not easy to give money.
that
Companies
is what I'm
will
saying.
not
That's
give
what
you. Yes, there
So do
are
you think
so many formalities.
we need to restructure our insurance thing? Because
so
also, I mean,
Ankit,
it's
Ankit,
that
We
I'll
should,
tell,
we
I'll
should,
tell,
we
I,
should, we should,
so
we should.
this unfortunately is not a, see, if I tell you in clear terms, this is most probably we are basically banking some money or parking some money for an adverse scenario, right?
yes,
This is what is happening with our current system. So even if we are putting money there, it is virtually not growing, right? In
yeah,
fact, over a period of time, it is depreciation, right?
yes,
So basically, it is like your car insurance that over a period of time, you are paying more premium and the worth is depreciation, right? Here in this case, we are paying more money as we start growing older. The amount of money premium which is being paid is always going to grow, right? The
yes,
insurance may, I mean, we will not, maybe the amount remains more or less the same. Maybe a 10% hike may happen, right? But the amount of premium is going to grow exponentially. So unfortunately, this is now the, I mean, this is the trend across with all the insurance companies all across the world. So it's not that in India they are doing something different. It's basically
no, sir,
a copy and paste policy.
but my sir, question is not that I'm concerned about that money or I'm concerned about why I'm paying. My concern is that whenever I need that services, I'm not getting it, and I have to do a lot of follow up. And
So
also,
that is,
if I'm
I'll tell
if I'm
you.
traveling to US or if I'm traveling to other countries, I have to take travel insurance, I have to take medical insurance, dental insurance, I have to take separately. Some operations are not covered. As Mark said that in USA, there is some insurance and then they have to additionally buy a lot of insurance. Same happens with
Um,
Sasha in Canada. So can't we have a global
um,
insurance with a collaboration with WHO where everyone will be covered like this? Because we are spending a
So
lot of
I,
time, a lot of money in different ways.
so I do agree with
Ankit,
you. That's a noble thought, but unfortunately, governments don't make money out of that. so, so I mean, we are talking about a future where the world is our platform, right? Unfortunately, that is not happening at the moment. So we are restricted to our various, governments and with their various interests in hand. So I mean that's the way it is, and I'm sure Mark will agree with me. He comes from the financial sector. He knows
Yeah.
very very clearly that that is not going to happen in the near future for many years unless some revolution happens somewhere.
Ankit, they only work. Yeah, yeah, they only work on the guidelines. I'll tell you, they cannot think over it. Suppose being a bariatric surgeon, my bariatric surgery is not covered under insurance, and we have a lot of meetings now. We are working with the insurance sector that the bariatric surgery should be labeled under the claim of insurance companies. But I'll give you an example of one of my patient. I was supposed to do surgery for one patient, and a claim for the insurance, and they rejected. They straightforward they rejected for the bariatric surgery. So God forward, I could not do the surgery for that patient. After 1 month, he got a heart attack. Then he got an angiography done. 2 stents were put in for that patient, and insurance company, gave cashless coverage for 400,000 rupees, 4 lakhs rupees. After 5 months, again he got the heart attack. Again he went through that same angioplasty and got again 1 stent was put in. And again that company gave claim for around 3 lakhs. So the company totally gave 7 lakhs, but company was not giving claim for 3 lakhs for the bariatric surgery. So ultimately, I had to do a bariatric for that patient, and at that time, the claim was not given. So they are not thinking that by giving claim for one surgery, we can decrease the financial burden of that company. So if the financial burden was there for 7 lakhs instead of a 3 lakh, they paid more, but even then they are not giving claim for this bariatric surgery. So they don't think, they work only under some guidelines which has been set up by their CEOs or their head offices. So that is why the staff which is working under them, they are just following the guidelines. That is why we have to do a lot of formalities while taking the claims.
So I welcome Dr. Vineet Talwar. He's a senior oncologist at Rajiv Gandhi Hospital in Delhi. Dr. Talwar, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a medical oncologist by profession. I'm the director at Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute and Research Center at Delhi. And we are a full-time niche cancer hospital in the northern India, the biggest, in fact. Thank you. Thank you, Ankit.
And sir, what are your takes in the current COVID situation and how
Thank you
things
for
are?
joining us.
Namaste. So the current take is that, as all of us know, we have entered the phase 3. And in phase 3, apart from the lockdown, I think we are gearing up and we have started increasing the number of screenings. So let's hope we get over the hump as soon as possible, and we are able to segregate people who are uh, harboring the infection at large and able to quarantine them as quickly as possible. It's a huge effort because uh, India, as all of you know, are a huge population. Half of the world is between India and China. So China, you have seen, India is now entering the arena. So I sincerely hope that things go as per plan, and we come out of it less unscathed than the other countries.
And what would you like to say to our viewers that how they should keep themselves away from the virus and stay at home, and what all precautions they need to take?
See, all of us know that logistics is a very, very big problem in India. So social distancing, of course, is paramount. And needless to say, anybody who doesn't have any, important things to do, all of us, should sit inside and keep on washing our hands after every 2 or 3 hours. And mind you, washing hands should be for at least 20 seconds and not less than that. Adopt all kind of hygienic procedures and keep on the lookout. Anybody who is coming from abroad should have a mandatory 2 weeks quarantine and inform the local authorities in case if there is anything untoward or anything out of normal. And of course, do our bit as ideal citizens of India wherever possible, whether it is financially, medically. We are trying to do. We are working Q 24 hours. We have not stopped our hospitals, and screening has stepped up. As you can see in most of the states, in Delhi also it has started being step up. Let us see what happens in the next 2 weeks, because that is going to be the acid test. I'll put it that way.
You know,
And so,
Dr.
yes,
Vineet, you mentioned something very good about the screening that they've been doing for about 2 months. When I would go in for my treatments, they would ask me questions, and they got real creative, and they would say, you know, have you had a cold lately? Have you had, you know, they were asking me these questions, and then they would go, and when did you get back from China? And instead of, you know, asking me, have I been to China, they were trying to trick us into saying whether we, you know, so this has been, I think, released to the medical profession for quite some time before they actually, well, you know, announced it to us via media or from our government. The medical profession has been well aware of what might be happening and to be on alert. What has been your experience with having to deal with this as a pandemic now?
No, it is a very worrisome situation at present. All of us know about that. And as far as my field is concerned, in medical oncology, we have in our hospital we have started a flu clinic in which all the patients who are coming to our OPDs, we are screening them for any chest problems, any cough, any fever, any breathlessness, and if that is there, then we are sending them, for screening to the concerned authorities. And in our OPDs also, we are aggressively following the hand sanitation guidelines and the distance guideline. We are keeping the patients at a distance of at least 1 meter whenever we are talking to them. We are wearing masks, and in our OPDs as well as the other parts of the hospital, the active sanitation guidelines are being carried out, including fumigation wherever it is required. But all the same, you know, the bottom line is that I personally feel as a doctor, we should not let the humane touch go away, whatever the situation might be. And we are trying to assess the situation on, a 2 or 3 day basis, where we keep on, improving on whatever guidelines which we are formulating on a day-to-day basis, whether it is the patient care, whether it is the administration, whether it is the support, or whether it is the procurement of the kits or the medicines, or it has to be a holistic approach. You can't have kind of a microscopic or a telescopic vision and say that yes, you have reached your goal.
So, I mean, this is all very good and interesting to understand, you know, especially given the fact that I think the world has been dealing with this since probably November, because this is why it's called COVID-19. We stood back and watched China deal with this. China has finally flatlined after a few months. And when we say flatline, we don't mean they died. We mean that they flatlined the infectious rate growth. The infectious rate growth is now flatlined, and that's where all of us want to be, right? We all want to see that growth rate flatline.
You
We're
are
10
you are
days,
very right. You're very right. All of us want to get over, that hump. Get a flat line and then come down as quickly as possible.
right? Flatline and
More
then come
than
back alive, right? We want a
pardon?
flatline and come back alive.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
if we're looking at
Definitely.
this in medical terms, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, my greatest fear is to be at the hospital and hear the words flatline. But the
So can I have a word with Sasha? Can I interrupt now?
yes,
So
please,
Sasha,
Doctor.
can you hear me, Sasha?
Yes.
So I was just curious to know that why have, yeah, I mean, Canada generally has a very low population density. That means generally people also live. They don't live very near to each other, and there is a very. It's a vast area. So how did COVID strike hard on Canadians?
Uh, well, first of all, the low density of population in Canada, it's a little bit of a misconception. I'll tell you why. If you look at the border with US, and that's the only country that Canada has a border, you will see that most of the population is around 49 parallel. What that means that all the largest cities in Canada, like Toronto, Montreal, um, Vancouver in British Columbia, and so on, they're all on this very south of the country. As well as north of the country is basically unpopulated. You can compare it to Siberia, for the best purposes, just to understand that there are essentially no people there. So the low density is a little bit of a misconception. I'd like to mention a couple of things before I'll ask you a question. First of all, some of you know that recently I was on a trip from Toronto to South America. So I had to fly from Toronto to Buenos Aires. Unfortunately, there is no non-stop flight. So you have to go through, there are several options. You can go through New York, through Miami, or stop over in places like Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Santiago, Chile, whatever. So when I was making this arrangement, at the same time I was talking to my insurance agent, and I asked her that I would like to purchase travel health insurance for this trip. The first question he asked me, where are you making a stop? Because I told him there is no direct line. I told him that I'm considering either New York, Miami, or Sao Paulo, or whatever. He said, please fly through either Sao Paulo or Santiago or whatever it is, because if you have a stopover in United States, your insurance will be 4 times as expensive. Can you imagine that? So really? Through Sao Paulo to Buenos Aires and back, avoiding stopover in US. If you do stopover in US, your health insurance is 4 times as much.
My God.
Yeah.
That's a big number for us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, why we have so many rules and so many follow-up in terms of insurance, and I don't know what insurance companies are doing with that money, basically, because
this is exactly what Kimberly was complaining about. So
yeah.
cost of insurance in US is atrociously high. And Sasha, on the one hand, should be really glad that he's sitting in a country where he is virtually not paying anything for that insurance, except the heavy taxation, which takes care of that insurance also.
Yes, you're right. Actually, I'm curious about one thing. Both Canada and India, at some point in the past, were colonies of United Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes.
So, as British colonies, former British colonies, of course, not today, we choose very different approach to health insurance. One, which is in Canada, particularly in Ontario, where I live. In India, which is very different, and it seems to me it's more alike in the United States. Why such difference in approach?
That is a $1 million question, Sasha, but I presume that Canada has been more on the socialist scheme with the insurance. They generally have been more with the socialist way of thinking on insurances, because you look at everything in Canada is insured. For example, if you as you grow older, they will shift you. If you're staying at a first floor over a period of time, if you are into government service, they will make arrangements for you everywhere. They will shift you to our house where, I mean, walking out and entering is more accessible. I mean, it's generally the state takes care of you for everything virtually. Am I right there, Sasha? I
Yeah.
think the state takes virtually care for everything. The only pitfall in that whole scenario is that you are basically paying out of your nose for the taxation. So virtually half of your salary, I presume, goes into taxation, if I'm not wrong there.
Not that high. It's about anywhere from about 35% to 50%. Depends on the amount of money we're earning.
So,
Yeah, it's higher definitely if you compare it to state. It's higher. Uh, However, the benefit is that you have affordable and I would say highly respectable level of service, like medical care. And I'm talking about not only hospitals, but doctors, specialists, the even cost of medication. For example, if you are over 65, you have a free medication of any kinds. And so it's hard really to say which way is superior. It's
I
hard to
would,
say.
so, sir, I would like to ask a question with all the doctors in panel that whenever you go outside for conferences, so what kind of discussions you have with other doctors from different countries? Are you discussing about the healthcare industry? Are you discussing about the best practices or cases or innovations? Or you have any other things to discuss on those conferences?
So basically, whenever we go to the conferences, international conferences, so that is basically subject based. Being a bariatric surgeon, I only discuss the bariatric surgery or extra knowledge of my own subject. So we generally don't discuss these type of the questions like insurance or something else with the other counterpart from the other countries.
But sir, do you compare the surgeries what happened in with pediatric in India compared to the Western world or maybe some other countries? Because I think we
Yes, yes.
yes.
Please go on.
So I
Yeah, we
think
always come.
yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Please, we always compare the quality of the bariatric surgery over there and whatsoever the new procedures are there. We are following those procedures and whatsoever the new procedure we are doing over here in India. So definitely those guys are also they are following the same procedure. So in the conferences, I think only the discussion on the subject is there, but not beyond that. Not beyond that.
But do you think the whatever the services you are offering in India and whatever services you counterpart offering in US, there are a lot of price difference. So why the price is so different in different countries?
So,
see,
so that is
Ankit,
why that is why the insurance company is more happy to get their patients to be operated in India. So, we have operated Canadian patients, American patients on the insurance basis also, and we took the claims also in India. Even the Canadian patients, Canadian companies, they are giving claims in India, and Americans also. So they are very happy when we are sending the bills because our bills are, you can say, 1/10 of the bills which they are getting from the same procedure in their native countries. So maybe their consumable cost is on the higher side, maybe some taxes on the consumable is on the higher side. But if I want to compare the procedure which I did in Texas, they charge for $50,000 over there, and the same procedure we are doing here $6,000.
So that's what that's what I want to
There was,
say.
yeah.
Why
So I was surprised to see the bill of that patient, and my charges was $22,000 over there.
okay.
The ICU charges were the different charges, pre-operative
Okay.
charges were the different charges, post-operative charges. So everybody was swiping their own for their own charges. So there was no cumulative bill in the hospital. Every department was charging their own bill. OT was charging their own bill from the insurance company. Surgeon was charging their own. Physician was charging their own. Anesthetist was charging their own. So I would like to say there is a big burden over the insurance companies over there, and the same burden they are transferring to the patients over there. So that is why Kim is not happy with the insurance company over there. So it is the same burden. Yeah.
I've read it somewhere that in countries where they have more insurance premium, they have more healthcare charges.
Yes, 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 yes.
So is it
So
because
we
of the
can say that
because of the charges?
because of the charges, the insurance companies, they're keeping premium on the higher side. So it is directly proportional to.
See,
Okay.
Ankit, what I understand is of my, limited interactions with all our colleagues all across the world. I think there are only two countries which are basically, doing some kind of, you can say, socialized, uh, I mean, uh, uh, medical care. One is, of course, Sasha's Canada, and the other, I presume, is New Zealand. There also, the scenario is nearly the same as it is in Canada. But
Yep.
unfortunately, as I told you, that these places are good to live in. But if you're trying to take money out of these countries, they're not the greatest countries to be in. So, if we talk about their, their way of living and all, it is very good. But money making is not the best. For entrepreneurial people, I don't think these are the countries to be with. And I think that is Sasha's grudge also with the system. That if people are there, they cannot make money too much. Money as they can do in, out and out capitalist countries like USA. But there is a trade-off. You have to take. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
a great trade
this is
between.
a message. Go ahead, Sasha.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
Kim, I'd like to ask you a question. In United States, from what I understand, there are people, most of the people are insured either a Medicare or a Medicaid, or I'm not expert on insurance plans, but what I really sort of what I'm objecting is the fact that under almost any plan there is a certain deductibles, whether it's 20% or 30 or whatever it might be. And this I really don't understand. Actually, I hate this preposition that after being insured, you still come and you still have to pay a certain amount with a percentage of treatment, whatever you're going to get. How does it work, really?
Well, the insurance isn't designed to bring you affordable health care or health care. The insurance is all about this. And as Dr. Sagu shared with us about the surgeries that he has performed over here and how they cost way up here, but over in India it costs a different price. Our insurance has never been, and they took over basically our insurance companies took over our government, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's theory. The thing is that nobody understands what is every insurance plan is different. You may pay $2,000 a month for your insurance, and that insurance company is going to give you a list of things that you get. It may lower your deductible. You may get a higher deductible. So nobody understands it. That's why they had to hire specialists to read Medicare insurance to people who are getting Medicare. Now, Medicare was supposedly be for poor people who couldn't afford insurance, so you go to Medicare. But if you're older and you're getting Medicare and you can't afford Medicare, then they want you to buy a supplement. And then each of those supplements, A, B, C, D, are different. So you supposedly are be able to key in what you're looking for in an insurance, like a menu of what you're buying to eat food. So there is no uniform, and it should be. When Dr. Sagu is talking about how our hospitals bill for a surgery, they bill independently for each item. So if you got an aspirin, you're billed for your
Yeah.
aspirin independently. Then you're billed
Yeah.
by the person who gave you that aspirin. Your anesthesiologist will bill you separately. So now you get 15 different bills for one surgery, and then your insurance company has to decide which of those are they going to pay for. So now your surgery is defined separately via whether your insurance covered your anesthesia. Might not, because it might not have covered that anesthesiologist. Because insurance now can say whether they're going to be covered by Duke Medical, Lex Medical, or some other medical. So you have to look at that. Whenever you're going to have a surgery, you almost have to know, is that nurse going to be covered under my medical insurance? That's how bad it is. And
Yeah, this
when
is bad.
I have a procedure done, I get issued a bill from every person individually now. And then I have to ask my insurance, are you covering this or not? And so if the insurance comes back and says, well, you know, that nurse really wasn't covered under us, so that aspirin she gave you, it's not covered. And that aspirin probably cost you $200. So that's
Yeah, so
ridiculous.
that is why I'm telling the formalities while taking a claim is less in India as compared to the other countries, and even the premium is also on the lower side. In the US, premium is also on the higher side, and you have a lot of formalities, a lot of headaches you have to be there when you are taking the claims.
Sir, I have a question that what do you think is the ideal amount to cover someone's health on an annual basis? Can we fix up an amount? That suppose I'm doing my insurance is about 10 lakh rupees. So
Yeah.
should I keep it 10 lakh or should I add more amount to it? Because
No,
people
10
are
lakh is
how to budgetize the medical insurance on an annual basis.
yeah, on your age, I think 10 lakh is more than that. 10 lakh is sufficient for you.
But
10 lakh is sufficient for you.
But I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about generally. I mean, how should people plan the insurance?
So Ankit,
Yes.
I
No,
would.
if you're yeah, please go on.
Yeah, Ankit, I would presume that you are yourself, your spouse, and your daughter. That's it.
Yes. Yeah.
So you should take some kind of a family cover where you should be looking at least, I presume, I mean, to be on the safer side, around 25 lakhs should be minimum. Because
Okay.
please do remember that ultimately we are not expecting something great to happen. I am just talking
Yeah.
about the worst case scenario where, unfortunately, God, that should not happen. But suppose you get into the ICU. That is the problem. There is where the money starts. I mean, you will not even realize how the money flies.
Okay.
So I want to
The thing is that
inject
you should.
here on
Yes.
something that a lot of people don't pay attention to is the insurance company gets their money whether you live or die. They're not there to make sure when you pay them, they're not there to make sure that you will live or die. I would rather have a system like a blockchain system that I pay into and it goes straight to my doctor. And my doctor is inspired to make sure I live or die, right? He is directly paid to make sure I live or die. And in this situation, the true heroes are the doctors. The true heroes are our doctors. I mean, we can't argue that. It's not my politician. It's not the person I'm paying insurance for. It's the guy who's working night and day in the hospitals, at the medical facilities, the lab researchers. Those are our heroes, and those who need that we need to make sure they're compensated. But
And
right now, the way our system works, they're not encouraged to keep me alive. There's
I think this is the right time to basically evaluate the virtual consultancy with doctors around the world. Because I think I'm not sure whether it's allowed legally or not. But what do you
It
think
is.
doctors about it?
Ethically, it is not allowed, but because of this crisis time, we are doing this virtual consultancy, and that is too free of cost. We are not charging anything for that.
But sir, you think it should continue for as a regular consultancy because a lot of times people want to see a doctor from a different region, from a different country, and it's difficult for them to officially medicate that particular patient.
I mean, officially, we cannot send the medication, we cannot send the prescription. Yes, in the different countries, we can do the video consultation, but the final consultation, which will be a decision making for the procedure, is the physical consultation. Ethically, the physical consultation is there. That has to be there.
But do you think we should start working on that virtual consultation as well? Because a lot of disasters happen, and then people are looking for doctors from different countries, and it's difficult for doctors to travel to those countries as well. So, do you think we should have some kind of a plan or something with different countries, and maybe WHO can come and start something campaign, maybe to have doctors on board across the globe, and then they can consult with people in different parts of the world. Suppose why
Yeah,
I'm asking that because a lot of
Uh,
Indian doctors, Yes, sir. You want to say something?
Ankit, I love your exuberance, and I love the way you talk about WHO. But honestly speaking, I mean I have my reservations about WHO also, because ultimately I presume that no one listens to it. I mean,
Yeah.
they act, all the governments seem to act that they're listening to WHO. But I mean, look at
Yeah.
all the countries around the globe. Are they really looking into WHO? I mean, are they there?
I
I
don't
mean,
think.
see, the WHO was shouting hoarse from quite some period of time that to all the governments to, I mean, telling them that there is this threat of this virus looming large and they should take preventive measures. Of course, they also are partly to be blamed that they should have declared an pandemic way beyond, I mean, way earlier than where they declared it. But I mean, look at the governments. What were they doing? They were sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
all, I'm not saying
I
that only the Indian government, I'm
agree.
talking about all governments all across. So virtually, I mean, WHO is kind of that, loudspeaker guy who's going across in the streets and shouting that please take care. And everyone is saying, oh, this is a madman shouting, don't listen to him.
oh, who are you? Who are you? Yeah, it's kind of like the CDC is our foundation. Everyone says don't trust anyone unless it comes from CDC. And then our CDC said, everyone take care, no more mass meetings above 50. Keep it below 50. And our governor said, we can still do them at 100. Keep them below 100. Why have a CDC if you're going to not follow their rules? And why sit there and say the only people we trust are CDC or WHO? We heard from NFID, National Foundation of Infectious Disease Directors. We heard from WHO, and we heard from CDC. CDC, I actually withheld some information, so I'm a little mad at them. But we weren't paying attention. You have a governor who says, well, you know what, CDC, you say 50, I'm going to say 100. How did that help us? I agree with you. We weren't listening. We're not listening. They're there.
That day, I mean, we were discussing about WHO and what the role of WHO in the current pandemic happened in the world. But can we have something going on, because the world is not talking to each other in terms of healthcare. That's what we think, but we are not doctors and we are not experts. But we think that there should be a platform required where people can start interacting and talking and helping
So,
each other.
Ankit, my
Because
question again to you, I'm sorry I'm disturbing you and interrupting you, but my question is, which organization is the world listening to? I mean, if you look around, the world is not listening to anyone.
Good question.
I
Good
mean,
point.
look,
Good
so
point.
look what
Good
is
point.
happening with the UN. I mean, it's a disaster which is happening in US. You see countries fighting their battles of supremacy in some third country, and no
yeah,
one is bothered. I mean,
yeah,
Syria is a prime example of it. Just look what is
true.
happening there.
Still, we
So
are
where is the
focusing on elections.
UN on that?
Still, we are focusing on elections.
Yeah. So the problem is that ultimately no one is listening. So I mean, I really believe, I am an optimist. So I believe that there is
Yeah,
only one lady, I presume that's a child, by the name of Greta Thunberg. She is the only one I
yeah, yeah,
presume can bring some kind of revolution by charging
yeah.
the younger generation to get us to think around it. Because I believe
True.
us oldies, I consider myself an oldie only, not to say to Kimberly and Sash, you are the youngsters in our team, right? So, I mean, if we are to look at that way, I presume this is going to come from them only, because the rest is not listening.
Yeah.
And
No, I
and
completely
I'm
agree. That's why I asked the same question to Mark as well. That we have spent millions of dollars and billions of dollars to help and work on the global warming, but eventually after the lockdown, things are moving automatically, and the environment is helping himself the way, because we were the culprit and we disturb the environment the way we can. So, so that money can be utilized
Ankit,
into medicine.
yeah.
We can
Ankit,
use that medicine.
yeah.
That
I'll
is
make
what.
move, please. I'll make move.
Yes,
It was, yeah. Thank you so much. Namaste.
thank
so,
Kim,
so that
it
is
was
the
nice
problem,
talking to
Ankit.
you. Dr. Tula, bye.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure, sir.
you.
So that's the
Yeah,
problem with us,
namaste.
Ankit. Honestly speaking, the problem with us is that we not. I mean, the countries are only bothered about their interests, Ultimately, initially, US was supposed to be a global leader. Now I think they have also started introspecting and looking inwards rather than looking outwards. And ultimately, we don't have any leadership left in the world. So I mean, our prime minister is trying somewhat in a makeshift manner, trying to, I mean, put himself on the global leadership and
I know.
arena. But I
Yeah.
presume that that's also not happening because there are a lot of many issues. Then we have China also trying to, trying to, just get into that space. So ultimately,
Yeah.
I believe ultimately the only thing is that human to human, thing is only going to last. That is the only thing which is going to, over a period of time, what I believe is that, I'm being very optimistic on that, but I presume people will drive their governments into changing.
I
It's
think
not
so.
going to
I
happen
agree.
now. Maybe around 50 years, 100 years, but it's going to happen. You look
But on
at the
IBM TV, we are a non-profit organization, and we are looking for people with positive attitude to work together on global platform, and that's why we have so much interesting and super guests on our show with a lot of expertise. And Sasha, I have some question for Dr. Tula.
sure,
Uh,
sure, sir.
well, it's not only for Dr. Tula, but I would like him to comment on something. These days, of course, we have a lot of time to read books, listen to the music, and understand your inner world much better. On advice of my daughter, who is happened to be editor of medical publication, which is by the name Geriatrics and Age. She recommended, and I'm reading now, a very interesting book, which I would like you to see. The name is The Wise Heart, a guide to universal teachings of Buddhist psychology. This is an exceptional book. It gave me a lot of understanding of my inner space and what's going around me. Um, Interestingly enough, could you recommend on wisdom of such books?
So, Sasha, what we will do tomorrow is I'll get you a list of, all the world around the mythology, because I generally am into reading a lot about different cultures. I like to read about different cultures, what their thought process is, how they have evolved over a period of time. So I'll do help you tomorrow. I'll have a list with me, hopefully tomorrow, and I'll share the list with you, right? And then maybe you can just go on and try reading them out. And
Thank
of
you.
course, you can always, enlighten us with your comments also on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
No, sharing resources is the way I think we survive this, because I get to hear about how it's impacting different parts of the world. We can connect some dots and maybe even come to a conclusion of how it evolved, where it evolved from. We believe, China. We still don't know ground zero, but we have to survive this in order to rebuild. And so we need to start thinking about these rebuild things. Books like what Sasha just shared with us, other books that you might share with us, Dr. Tula. I think all of this is good, healthy mindset, and that's the way we need to be driving ourselves. We have other wars to that challenge us, and those are political wars in our country. It is sad that the rest of the world was looking towards our leaders for answers, and our leaders did nothing but do selfish entitlement practices, such as dump stock and tell us to remain calm, and probably potentially cause the stock market to nearly crash. As we know, it's been very quiet in that world right now, and things are rebuilding. But I think by coming together like we have been, we are establishing a new ground rule and ground basis for humanity, not just for your culture or my culture. We are real humans who care about things for all of us, not just for what's good for the government or for my country. We are having conversations about what is good for everyone, right? Because we're all human. and there's a human like us in every country. Where somebody told me, and I'm careful, but don't trust the mask coming from China. But there are a lot of humans in China. I've worked with people from China. They're not all that bad way of thinking. Just like they say, don't trust everyone from this culture because a certain part of that culture did something to them or hurt them. You can't judge every human based on their race, color, culture, religion. You have to look at the human. And that's something my father tried to teach me, because I would put up a shield real quick and say, whoa, that person hurt me, and they're this race or this religion. But every human isn't like that. There are humans that don't hurt humans, and we're from every culture, every race, and we have to join those people together, and that's what makes us stronger, are the real humans, and we have to sort that out. I am going to be careful about what comes from different countries, but not from you or not from Ankit. If y'all sent me something, I would say, okay, I trust it.
Yeah.
Right?
So we will definitely,
by God, I'm going to drink it.
So we will definitely send you something, Kimberly. There is no doubt about it. I presume the cargo is still not flying out. Am I right, Ankit?
Yeah,
I presume they've grounded every plane now.
Yeah, everything is grounded.
So,
Only that.
so
Only
after
the drones.
this, then maybe we'll send. We'll
Only the
send her
drones are
some.
doing.
Careful. We just have to be careful.
We'll send her special kind of teas because she's a tea person. So we'll definitely
Yeah.
get her.
Me too. I'm a tea person too, and I'm.
So that's why that's what I was telling, that you are a tea person. So maybe a special kind of teas for you.
Yeah.
Special authentic Indian teas. I don't know whether Sasha likes teas or not.
I love water. I love tea. I love limoncello. I love whiskey.
Sasha is showing what he loves.
Yes, that's the best. Sasha has top shelf. Let me tell you guys, he's got top shelf.
On behalf of Sasha, I'll invite everyone at Sasha's house after the COVID-19.
That's right. We're gonna have one big party with Sasha.
So we're going to have that.
When we can travel again.
And by the way, he's the most youngest person in our own group. Yeah, so he's the youngster of the group.
In the heart.
I love his energy and attitude. God bless him, but I really love him on that.
Sasha, you want to share a story quickly? Any story you want to share right now?
Do you have any new stories?
I have a new story. Actually, it's a fantastic story. I really hope I will not offend anybody by this story. No?
No.
Okay. Now, we are talking lately a lot about helping your communities and innovations and entrepreneurship. And this story actually is about all of it in one. What I've learned about this a 19-year-old girl from Ukraine. Her name is Cassie. And she's 19 years old, very pretty. And she has a boyfriend. And actually, they were getting closer and closer and about to become really close. Okay, that's the best way I can put it. And all of a sudden, she started to have her doubts about the whole thing. And she ended up by putting through a social agency. She put an ad where she advertised her virginity to a higher bidder. And the highest bidder was a businessman from Germany, from München. And he put a price of 1,200,000 euros. And the second bidder put 1 million euros, and the third one 900,000. Okay, so once it was all over, then certain things started to happen. First of all, she gave interview where she was asked how she ever came up with this idea. And she said, well, this my boyfriend. He's a wonderful person, or so on. But I decided that we'll get together, and then at some point he'll go away, and here I go. I have no virginity, and I have no million euros. So I decided, okay, why don't I do this? So at least I have million some euros. Now her boyfriend, though, he said that he now wants 25% of that price, which is 300,000 euros, to himself, because he's suffering as a result of all this. Now, then she was warned that she would have to pay 55% tax on the 1,200,000 euros. So now she approached this businessman from Munich, Germany, if he wouldn't mind to pay tax in addition to what he's going to pay anyway. In the meantime, don't forget that there is no means to travel because there are no flights from US to Germany or back. And he replied to that, well, now he has to think about it. So now everybody is following the story to see what will be the outcome, because he may change his mind all of a sudden. It's a bizarre story, really. I mean, I don't know really what to make out of it.
You know, it's interesting, and these are interesting things, and maybe we can start shedding some light just to bring humor and interest of human interest into the world as well. I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah.
We had a good 2-hour session. Sasha, and we also, if you get more letters, we would like for you to read them. I haven't received any. You seem to be the conduit.
I'll have one, yes.
If you find any, we want to just record you by yourself, because we just think that's so impactful. And if you can find Paulina and find out if she's still alive, how she is, I would love to speak with her. And your friend, your chess friend, both of those are very non-selfish letters, just messages to the world, and I think that that's important. Maybe we can read the other letter as well. But thank you guys. Have a good weekend. Everyone in the whole world. Actually, we just had our after show talk.
Let me play Missy's.
Yeah, Misha needs to come on. This is our bright future as
coronavirus से कैसे बचेंगे? हैंड होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अच्छू अच्छू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
That's our future, people. I would love to see more children videos shared with us so we can share with the world. And Ankit, wrap up.
Yeah.